Well, good evening, good evening, good evening to all of the members of the loyal opposition. What a distinct privilege it is of mine to be back with you again this evening. Of course, I think you would know who I am by now. I would let you know for those of you who might be joining us for the very first time, but I'm Ferdinand Nichols. I am ordained minister of the gospel with the Pentecostal Assemblies of the West Indies. But I'm also involved politically and nationally and in other areas. And it is my distinct honor and privilege to have the opportunity to co-host the Monday night shows with our dearly beloved friend Marcia Weeks. Now, she's going to be joining me in just a few minutes, but before she does, I tried this thing of welcoming you guys the way that she did, and somebody messaged me and said to me, that's her strength. So don't try to copy her strengths. I'm not even going to, by any stretch of the imagination, try, except that I'm going to welcome all of you. I see some familiar names. Sir Alfred Benjamin, so good to see you again this evening, joining us from Brooklyn, New York City. My goodness. And Adrian X. Oh wow. I mean, all of you. I'm just gonna try and slide back up my information here. Born again. I'm gonna call some names, but look, sometimes when you begin to call names, you don't get all of them. People get upset. So please don't get upset with me. Born again, 48, Adrian X, Sandra Franklin, Diana Husbands. A joy to have all of you back with us today. I want to give some specific shout outs to you today. Diana Husbands, Victoria's Queen, Cecilia Miller, Marcia. Marcia always keeps me on my P's and Q's and on my toes with the national anthem. And I know she's going to do it again this evening. Cecilia Miller, my goodness. And Remy M 6070. Yes, I agree with you. Folk, like and share the link, please. Get it out to your family, your friends, to the whole world. And let's do it so that we can discuss tonight the cybercrime bill before we find ourselves not being able to do anything. All right. So, Ryan Rock, great to have you with us tonight as well. We have always had some folk in from the UK, Alvin Simpson and Fabian Yard, Emerson Bob. There you are from the UK. Emerson, really good to see you. Rosalind Corbin. Rose, what you doing out there? But good to see you too. Emerson Bob, Bajan Boy, great to see you. James Harding, great to have all of you. Jackie and Son of a King, D. Shaline. I don't know, whatever that is. It sounds very Eastern. Monica Inks. And look, if I chew up a few names, forgive me, all right? But Sir Alfred, it's good to see you with us. Clive Osborne, Marlene Marshall, Patrick Green, good night to you too. Pleasure to be here with you, Patrick. Peteway 36, yes, glad to see you too. And Hasbra, good night to you. Fabian Yard, great to see you as well. Pauline Maynard, good night. Maryland, Pauline from Maryland, great to have you. Easy D, we can't have an evening without you, Easy. So it's really, really good to have you. Gel Biz, yes, remember to put up your disclaimer ticker. So I'm going to ask them to make sure that gets up as well. All right. So great to have all of you joining us tonight. Maria Watson from Rhode Island. I hope tonight we get a chance to share what the diaspora is going to be doing here. I believe it is next month. The diaspora, Barbadian diaspora out of the U.S., they're going to be coming to Barbados and they're going to be sharing a health fest is what I better call it. Judith Ann Clark, Justin Time, Bajan Britt, good night to you. Owen Hines, and Bajan Britt from London. Why did I not think that was going to be London? Llewellyn Eiffel, Jenny, Jeanetha Calendar. Now, I hope I've got that right, Jeanetha. Good evening. It's good to see I know, it's good to see me smiling. I do have a couple of reasons that I shouldn't be smiling because one of my very close colleagues, that young lady who was missing and was found in the well in oh dear me, I can't remember the name of the location, but just off Buckley. She is a very close friend of ours and a member of my intercessors team, and that was her cousin. So it's been a bit of a sad morning for us as well. but we are confident that she is, that the good Lord is going to look after the family and help them navigate these very difficult times. CG, good evening to you as well. Wendy Ford Griffith, nice to have you with us. All of you. It's a real pleasure to have all of you joining us tonight. Normally I wait until we get up to close to about 500 before I get that national anthem going. But I just want you to know that tonight we're going to have another great show. We don't let anything stop us from telling the truth. All we have is the truth. That's the only thing that we have. And we're going to share the truth with you on this program. We have a number of persons who come on from time to time. We have persons like Maxine McLean. Of course, we're looking for the general to join us tonight. And our captain of this vessel, Marcia, she'll be joining us tonight as well. And God willing, we'll see our good friend Kimar, someone I always love to have on the show. We learn so much from him, and it's great to have him whenever he's on the show. Beverly Prescott, good to have you too. Fabian Yard, Erskine Watson, a pleasure to have you. Tony Paris, good night to you as well. Erskine Watson, yes. Beverly Prescott, absolutely. Always great to have all of you. The show couldn't be the show that it is without you. And we really want to commend all of you for coming on. I am just amazed. Every night, sometimes I'm on the YouTube channel with you, and I'm seeing up to 13, 14, 1,500 people every single night the show is on. And some of you all of you are so faithful and so committed to being with us. And we really, really appreciate that. All right. Tonight, I want to touch a little bit on a matter to do with the World Health Organization. I want to share a short video with you, God willing, that will show you their intention. And that vote is coming up next month. And we want to know what is our government's position where that is concerned. We want to be able to hear what the Lord, what the government, is going to be, yes, I know, is going to be doing. And of course, we've had an exciting weekend. Good evening to you too, Madam Vaughn. And Sumorai Warrior, son of a king, good night to you too. Really great to have all of you with us. We've had an exciting weekend. We've had a busy weekend. And we've had, there are a number of adjectives I could put to the weekend, but tonight we hopefully will touch on some of those things. And I received a tremendous message today from one of my colleagues with regards to the aspect of history when it comes to the Democratic Labour Party. And I must tell you, that as I observed the weekend, I had to think to myself that Errol Barr must be rolling in his grave. Cameron Tudor must be rolling in their graves when they look at what's happening in the party that they I would have to say, created and led successfully for so many years. So hopefully, God willing, we will be we will be touching on some of that. One love to you, Queen as well. Peter King. Yes, my weekend was busy. Marcia, yes. I got on last night, though, Marcia, and it was a great show with Marcia Weeks and Caswell Franklin. Great show. But we're looking forward to a great one tonight. All right. So, folk, I'm just kind of stalling a little bit because I don't want to get into the groove of things before we get that national anthem, in plenty and in time of need. And I must tell you, every time we play that national anthem, the words resonate with me over and over again. In plenty and in time of need, when this fair land was young, our brave forefathers sowed the seed from which our pride is sprung, a pride that makes no wanton boast of what it has withstood and binds our hearts from coast to coast, the pride of nationhood, not the pride of political parties, the pride of nationhood. We are citizens of a tremendous country. And I want to say that it is not the government that makes the country what it is. It is the people that have made this country what it is. If you talk to people who come here with from the tourism industry and in terms of our tourists, they tell you, or they talk about the Barbadian people. They talk about the country. They don't talk about the government. So let's be clear. It is the people of this country that have made this country great, not the politicians, it's the people. And I keep reminding you, and I will say it over and over again, and you will hear me reiterate it again tonight, that the government is our employees, and we are the employers. And I am not prepared to give them credit for anything that's their job. Their job is to do a number of things to keep Barbados great, to maintain the well-being of its citizens, to look after the needs of our country, to make life palatable in the nation, to make it easy for people to get along with their lives, their businesses, their education, their development. That is their responsibility. And I must say that if you were to take it within the context of a common entrance exam or a CXC, that the government has a failing grade at this particular point in time. Yeah, you know, internationally, we have people jet setting all over the world, but I tell you, it is what goes on here in this country. If what you're jet setting all over the world does not help us here to develop a betterment of our living, then your jet setting is a total waste of the taxpayers' money. All right. So yes, all that is happening at Denzel in George Street is very interesting, but I will not be distracted, because that is the strategy of the Barbados Labour Party to get us off our mission. And I am not going to be deviating from that mission. Yes, we'll touch on it, but our mission is to bring and call the government to account. They should be brought to account. Now I'm up to 506. I know Marcia is going to remind me of the national anthem. So before she gets a chance to do that, because I haven't seen it come up yet, I am going to play it for us. And we're all going to stand to attention, and we're all going to give our national anthem the respect that it deserves. So, ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the Republic of Barbados. Amen, 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 amen. I like that one. These fields and hills beyond recall are now our very own. Well, welcome, Marcia. What a joy and a pleasant surprise to have you join me so early on Monday evening. And I'm sure everybody is just really happy to see you in red.
Yes, I tell you, it's a joy to be on tonight. As you know, normally I'm in my class, and so our syllabus is finished. So they're doing some preparation for their exam. So I'm able to come
Yes.
on tonight. Not sure about next week, but very soon I'll be on the Monday nights because we are gearing up for exams. But it's is it that anthem? I was singing
Oh,
along, literally
so
singing
was
along,
I.
Dr. Ferdinand. Yeah,
Yes, yes, I was too, and the thing that came back to my mind, Marcia, do you remember that motorcade that we did that took us through St. Philip and through St. John? Every time now I hear the national anthem, I remember the views and the beauty of the St. John area. And,
yes,
it's almost like an undiscovered gem.
yes,
Just to drive around the country. I don't think we as Barbadians really realize the beauty that we have, the fields and the
yes,
hills. And I really
yes.
enjoy it. I really do. Really, really, really do. But
And
nice to have you.
yes, and speaking of that, we want to announce Joe's River. Have you been to any of the hikes, Mr. Dr. Ferdinand?
Unfortunately, not yet. It's a bit early for me on Sunday mornings to get up and get back for my sessions in the morning.
Yeah.
But I would love to be able to make it. And maybe one of these sessions I'll record and have them play it so that I can get out there on that hike. I haven't done a hike in a very, very long
Yeah,
time.
well, there is a hike because you were talking about, these fields and hills. We want to make a statement on the 29th, which is actually Monday. It's a holiday
Wow.
in Barbados, and it's on the 29th this time around though, on Monday. So you might just be able to attend.
Well,
Um,
let's see. I might just be able to put on some shoes and travel with my oxygen tank so that when I haven't, and I'll have to travel with my special personal therapist.
well, we have a hike.
Ah,
It's a hike. It's a hike and cookout.
uh-huh.
That is going to be. This is the Joe's River Hike and Cookout. April 29th at 5:45 a.m. and we're starting at St. Elizabeth Primary School. And as we said, it's a hike and cookout, so we're asking people to bring something to put in the pot. Yeah, it's gonna be really, really great. Wear comfortable clothing. You can, when if you drive, then you can park at St. Elizabeth Primary School, and the hike actually ends in that area. And you can walk with an extra pair of shoes because your shoes might just get wet, or you get entirely soaked, as I would tell you. And believe me, on the hike, you're gonna hear that joke about me when I fell in the river. But I'm not gonna fall in this
you
time
you
because there'll be
you went fishing.
there'll be too many persons with cameras, so I won't fall in. I know some of you going to come for me to fall in. I am not falling in this time.
Oh, dear
So,
me.
but come and let's have a great time. But it's also we're making a statement. We're standing in those areas. We're walking in the areas that our ancestors walked. Dr. Ferdinand, where they washed their clothes and where they had community around that river. Can you just imagine with me the washing and the women around it and the fire and the crossing with things on their head? It was
Yes,
the river
yes,
was really where life was. And
yes,
so
yes,
we are going there to celebrate that and claiming taking a stake on that because it's ours. It's ours. And
yes.
so yeah, wonderful. It's wonderful. And that is on the 29th. Don't tell me you have work and so on. It's a holiday.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
of you going to say you have church, it's a holiday. It's a Monday. All right.
I
So
have no
come on
excuse.
out. No excuse. 5:45 a.m. Let me see the hands of those. Man, give me thumbs up if you're coming to the hike. Now you could come to the cookout. If you some people might say, I don't want to hike. Well, come to the cookout, but bring something to put in the pot. And we are no the only thing that we're doing is fish in terms of meat kind. It's fish. And you can bring breadfruit and
Wow. Look at
and
that.
um, anything potato, sweet potato, seasonings, that you can buy, green seasonings you can bring with you. Just bring it to the hike with you and leave it in your when we get to the hike, I'm sure they'll collect it all so that they can prepare for us. And bring a bowl as well. Bring a bowl to have your soup. I'm going to bring my calabash. So
I'll bring my bowl. And you talk about bringing something to put in the pot. I'll bring my fork.
yes, yes, yes. Anybody coming? I don't see
Uh,
any thumbs up of anybody coming to the hike. Oh Lord, if
yeah,
I'm gonna be
I'm looking too. I'm not seeing the thumbs up, and I'm not seeing the agreements yet. And we have 664 people so far, so we should be getting some thumbs up. We'll get to the business of the night soon, folk. But give us some thumbs up if you're going to be coming to that hike. 5:45 on April the 29th. It's a Monday. It's a bank holiday. Jelbiz is coming. Good to see you. And who's that, Monica? Hope I want to go to the hike, but the first bus to Bathsheba is 6 o'clock. Okay, you still
ooh,
come. We'll be in the
yeah,
area. We'll be in the
yes,
area.
yes, yes. And Monica, you can message, and probably somebody you could carpool with someone. Okay, you probably can carpool, and you meet somebody somewhere. All things are possible. Okay, so
Yes, yes,
just message, and we don't have a bus, but at least message, and let's see what we can do. 236 7000, 236 7000. You know the number, 236 7000, Monica, and see what we can do. We're a family. Let's
yes,
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 people are saying they're coming. I
yes.
see
I'm
the
seeing
thumbs
the
up.
thumbs up going. And what's that
Yes.
red hand? What's that big red hand? What does that mean?
I'm probably saying yes or something.
Okay,
I
okay.
yes,
I'm still
yes,
learning all the meanings of these things. But
yes,
Marcia, as I'm looking on the screen too, some of the images there are so beautiful, so lovely, and so fresh.
yes.
Really, at that time of the morning, it must be remarkable. Must be remarkable.
Yes, it's a beautiful feeling being out there. And it's a healthy environment, and that is what is so beautiful about it.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. And but we also have someone speaking about health. We have the health festival.
yes. That's coming up next month, isn't it?
Yes, right. So that is happening. That is happening right there. That's it right there. And it's happening. Are you going to be attending, Dr.
Oh
Ferdinand?
yes, oh yes, oh yes, absolutely. And I'll get to meet some of the people from the diaspora as well. And I believe there are going to be a lot of health checks. I don't know if Dave can get that a little bit larger, that we can see some of the things that will be happening. I believe there is a competition too, Marcy. Isn't there a essay competition for the children as
Yes.
well?
Yeah, there's an essay competition, and that essay competition is within the schools in Barbados,
Hmm.
and they're writing all about health. And I love what the diaspora is doing. This is diaspora led,
Hmm.
and yes, this is the essay competition, and that is coming off, and they're contacting the schools, etc. And yeah, about this essay competition that is happening within for school children. But it is good. I love what the diaspora is doing, and I
Yes,
definitely
yes,
I'm going to be part of this. I'll be there. And if you want to know more about the essay competition and about anything about this health festival, where we're all going to be down. I'm sure all the panels going to be
oh
down there.
yes, oh
It's a
yes.
good time to meet people and relax, and it's a nice, healthy atmosphere. No pun intended. Um, but you can email. There's a Facebook page. There's an Instagram page, and they're doing a fantastic job in putting this together. So we want to commend the diaspora. And when we say that they're not doing enough, etc., but here they are doing something. And if you want to get more information on the health festival. All the contacts is on here, the email addresses, all the socials here. There's something that they have called a seaside chat, and I actually like that idea
Hmm.
because what they're doing, Reverend, is that they are presenting it's preventative measures that we can
Hmm.
take,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
to give advice and discussions about particular health issues, diabetes and hypertension and anything. They have professionals. Actually, there are people flying in. They have
Wow.
doctors and they
Wow.
have nurses that will be flying into Barbados. And so
Hmm.
it's a good time to come and sit down and speak with a professional and get them, ask the questions that we need to ask. And it's like a fireside chat, but this time it's a
Yes.
seaside chat. Yeah. And there's a GoFundMe as well. The GoFundMe is there because they are seeking to the diaspora is seeking to raise money to be able to bring some supplies in for persons in Barbados in the area of health. And as soon as they update me on what those supplies are, then I'll be able to tell you what will be happening. But they are raising money there, in the U.S. and Canada where they are, and even us in Barbados can donate to the GoFundMe.
Wow.
I love one of the things I love about this is how the local nurses and doctors are getting involved too.
Wow. That's really great to hear. That's great. That is wonderful. It's something really to look forward to, Marcia. That's the 24th and the 25th of May. That's a Friday and a Saturday. Is that right? I think that's a
Yes,
Friday and a Saturday. And
yes,
it's at the King George V Park. And that's in St. Philip, I believe. And I've been there a few times. And it's a very nice setting, really. And all of the checks, if you look there on the screen, you can see the health and wellness checks that you'll have. You have financial wellness. That's an interesting combination there, Marcio. Financial wellness. That's interesting. Kids zone where there'll be games and lucky dips and more giveaways and prizes and dominoes and other games and so on. So it's not just going to be talking about the health and so on, but it's going to be a fun evening. You can bring the whole family. You can bring the children. You don't have to try to find somewhere to leave them or anything of the sort. Now, let me ask you something, Marcia. Is that Friday a bank holiday? Is that Friday a bank holiday perchance, or is that an evening event?
I'm not sure. I know that I'm waiting on somebody to give me some more information on that. So I'm
Hmm.
not sure what it is, but if it's a, I don't think it's a bank holiday.
Yeah,
But
probably not. But
as
still,
soon as before the night is up, before the
yeah.
night is up, I'm seeing Heather here. We're talking about the diaspora,
Yes.
and
Well.
yeah, and Heather is one of those persons in the diaspora, like this group that's putting on this health festival. That's very active. She's one Bajan. She's not here, and it's not a holiday. Pete Way saying that it's not a holiday,
Okay.
and
Okay.
is Heather is very very active. She's there in the diaspora. I'm sorry that she wouldn't be able to be in Barbados for the health festival, or she might just fly in. Good night, Heather.
Good night, Heather. So nice. Marcia, this is a special evening
You're
for
muted,
me.
Heather. You're muted.
Good night. I am
There you
here
are.
finally.
Yes. I was just saying to Marcia that this is a special evening for me because I haven't had you join me on a Monday evening for a
In
while.
a long, long time. Yes.
So it's
But
so
I'm
nice to
finally
see
here.
you.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
welcome, welcome,
Thank
welcome.
you. And I want to
Yeah.
discuss two things tonight. The first one is the
Yes.
cybercrime bill, and then the petition. Actually, three things.
Yes.
And then there is the news that we heard that the government of Barbados is purchasing lots at Drax Hall plantation. So those are
That's
three
all.
things that I would like to
Three
discuss.
things. Well, it lines up with what we have to present tonight, and so we probably, Dr. Ferdinand, to have you do the WHO first, and then go right into the cybercrime bill, because we have to do some mobilization, right, Heather, with the cybercrime
Correct.
bill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not going to take a whole lot of time on the World Health Organization, to be honest with you, Marcia, except to just let persons know that the World Health Organization is attempting to implement a treaty that will technically remove human rights, allow censorships, implement digital passports, will require all governments to comply with the World Health Organization guidelines. In other words, you would fundamentally lose your sovereignty. You would have to, in a sense, depend entirely on them and carry out their instructions and that type of thing. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to share a very short video, Heather, with the people tonight. And this is a video of Dr. Meryl Nass, a member of the European Parliament. And I want the people to listen very, very carefully to what she has to say. All right. I wanted to listen very carefully to what she has to say. I see my good friend, the general, is here, and Mars is back in. I'll leave her to pull the general in and herself when they're ready. But I want to see if I can share this screen with you. Let me see how I do this, because I'm still the fellow that's learning. Let me see. Right. Okay. I want to share this video with you. I just want to make sure that you can see it. Let me see. Right. Okay. I want to share this video with you. I just want to make sure that you can see it. Okay. You can see it on the screen. I trust that you're able to see it. And I want you to listen to what this lady has to say. All right. And then I will come back and just make a couple of quick comments, and just to make sure that you can hear it.
We're undergoing a soft coup.
Well.
And the idea is...
I'm not hearing it. So just
we're hearing Dr. Ferdinand.
Oh, you're hearing it. Okay, great.
We're
Wonderful.
undergoing a soft coup. And the idea is to create a whole new set of laws and ignore the existing human rights laws and other laws under the pretext of pandemic preparedness and the biosecurity agenda. The WHO is developing through all its nations, but with the WHO Directorate in the United States in charge, a pandemic treaty and amendments to the existing international health regulations that will remove the human rights protections currently embedded in the IHRs, will enforce surveillance, censorship, get rid of freedom of speech, require governments to censor and only push a single narrative. Also, we will be subject, if they can make this work, to vaccines developed in 100 days, which the organization CEPI is planning to do. And one of the people who founded CEPI was Jeremy Farrar, who is now the chief scientist at the WHO, to bring this forward. Other things that the amendments do is to bind the states so they're no longer recommendations, but enforceable edicts. Provide a liability shield, get rid of intellectual property rights, move supplies from one country to another, enforce digital passports, and the Director General of WHO can demand that a pandemic or a potential pandemic exists. He can just declare it with no standards, and then countries around the world will have to obey. Also, the WHO will tell you what drugs you can and can't use in your nation once a pandemic is declared. Obviously, the budget will increase. One Health is another part of this. One Health is a concept that was created to enable the WHO, with these documents, to take over jurisdiction of everything in the world by saying that climate change, animals, plants, water systems, ecosystems are all central to health. Also embedded in this concept is a peculiar notion that humans are no longer of greater value than
That's some pretty tough language. That's some pretty tough language that you hear her espousing.
That's some pretty tough language.
Okay, just sorry. That you hear her espousing there, the removal of freedoms, the implementation of governmental mandates. I mean, that's a very, very serious position that they are advocating. And I'm not going to take the time to delve into it in any detail tonight, Marcia, because we have a number of areas that we want to cover that I believe are a bit more pertinent and more urgent. But it is something we need to pay attention to because our government, I believe it is next month, I think around May the 27th, that 190 some countries of the world are going to be meeting in not Brussels. I think it's in Geneva, but I'll get the location correct. They'll be meeting to look into this whole matter, but it is already receiving significant pushback from the United States and several African countries because in a real sense, it is a matter of surrendering your sovereignty, the sovereignty of your nations to the World Health Organization. Now, some persons are asking this when this speech was made. It was made, I believe it was last year after the pandemic had lulled. And I think we know that in a very real way, the World Health Organization has compromised its integrity enormously as a result of the pandemic that we have just navigated through as a world. And as a result of that, you know, people are fundamentally not very trusting of the World Health Organization or the Director General of the WHO either. And there's a lot more that I can say where that is concerned. But I really would like us to take the time tonight to address the particular areas that you have mentioned and that Heather has mentioned as well, because they are very current for us. And they're very urgent for us. The cybercrime bill is very urgent for us here in Barbados. And I mean, I think the committee began today with the cybercrime bill meetings, and we want to be able to get as many people as possible to sending their submissions to that. So I'm going to, you know, kind of slip out of the way with the World Health Organization and give the time to the areas that we are going to be looking at, Joe's River, the cybercrime bill, and some of the other things that that Heather has mentioned.
Yes, Dr. Purdy, thank you for that, and thank you for always keeping us informed on what is happening internationally. There are some of our guests who are asking if you could post the actual link to that, so if it can be posted in the comment section so that they can benefit from their own research. And I think that would be great. And so just wait a while and we'll be able to put the link there. Before Mr. Franklin comes to us, Heather, we're going to, I know you have quite a number of things there. We're going to break it down in pieces. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that we want to talk about, spend a little while on, not probably about 5-7 minutes, is the cybercrime bill. And we want to do some mobilization tonight, Heather. Isn't that so? Can you go ahead?
Yes, I am not sure if everyone would have remembered that a little while ago, the government did go to Parliament after they passed the bill in the House and in the Senate, and they said that they were going to pass the bill to a committee. This was after we spoke out against it. And now the committee has been formed, and it did start its work today, but it is seeking our submissions for the process of review. And what I would like to do, or what us as the Marcia Reach Show would like to do, is to, instead of, you can either make your own submission, or yours can be part of our compilation. So what I would like you to do tonight is whatever areas of concerns you have regarding the cybercrime bill, please drop them in the chat and we will make note of them. And if I can remind persons, I know it has been a while since we touched on that, I can remind you of some of the broad concerns that we would have had. For example, the cybercrime bill 2023 would give the government sweeping powers it would give the law enforcement sweeping powers, and as well as the courts, it would authorize them with extensive authority to seize your computers and other personal devices and your telephones to search. So the police would have the authority to invade your house, search up and dig up everything and take away your laptop and your cell phone if someone was aggrieved of something that you did and it was done via the internet. And also telecommunication companies, government would have it enacted in the law, has it enacted in the law that they would also have broad powers to provide the government with whatever information they are requesting about your contacts and possibly messages, text messages you sent out and things like that. They would be relayed to the police as part of this search process. So Flow and Digicel will be monitoring you and collecting more information than they should to provide to the government. And for example, and also where you browse, what sites you go on. So basically it is everything that you do. And most likely they will not be waiting until you do something. They will start their surveillance well in advance. So it is things like these that would cause us to value our privacy, and we don't want to put ourselves to the risk of that happening. So we want preventative measures. We don't want that ever to happen. We want to feel safe and maintain the privacy of ourselves as residents and citizens of Barbados. And also the penalties. Remember, there were some quite harsh penalties for doing things that for these offenses, and there were more in some cases as opposed to if a person killed someone or stole something, and the amount of funding was $70,000 or 7 years in jail if you were found guilty of a cybercrime act. And also the act was quite ambiguous in some areas, and so it would lead you to interpret it one way and the courts may interpret it another way. So there's things like that that we are up against. And also we had also spoke about the society becoming like China, where you know that if you move from point A to point B in China, you're under surveillance. If you buy something, the government knows. If you spend money, if you deposit funds into your bank account, they know. So this legislation is very broad, and it gives the government broad sweeping measures to surveil the society and put it to surveil the society. So we need to prevent that from happening in Barbados. People need freedom. If we say that we are a democratic society, these things should not happen. So these are some of the things that we need to put in. You need to put in comments as to how they will specifically affect you, and you can drop them in the chat or you can send them to Marcia. I'm going to be compiling from tonight until Thursday, and we will get it off late on Thursday evening or so. So please feel free to go ahead and submit anything that you wish in this area at all.
Yeah. Heather, thank you so much for reminding us of some of the concerns that we have. Somebody has here, Alice Murray, is saying that the Joint Select Committee, she's asking if you had listened to it because there seems to be intent and recklessness. This is why we're having this discussion, Alice, because if you were to look at the actual bill, there is nothing in there that would say that it depends on your intent or if it was reckless. So take a chance and look at it. And that's why we're raising these concerns and why they're actually having the meetings. So now we're going to be able to work these things out and get an understanding of what it is that they really mean. And if this is an issue, if it depends on intent and depend on whether it's reckless, then we want to know who determines that. What and what and how do they and how is it determined? You see what I mean? So all of that needs to be in the law. And so that's why we're having these discussions. So Alice, you're correct, because I did hear that and see that as a comment that came out of there. But it was never there before, and now we need to get we want everything in writing because it's too important.
Definitely.
Yeah, I also want to say, Heather, that there is a petition. So there are several ways that you can participate. One is that you can go ahead and put your comments in right now in the chat. Heather is going to capture those, and those will be submitted. Okay. Some of you have sent me comments and submissions via WhatsApp, and those will be submitted to Heather, and then they will be submitted to the review committee. Now, those of you who want to, you might want to go ahead and submit on your own. You might say, "Listen, I want to go directly," and I have somebody did that. They wrote me something, and they had it ready to submit, and we are going to put that address. It's a Parliament Barbados at caribserve.com. Parliament Barbados at caribserve.com. If if Heather can just write that in the chat for us, Parliament Barbados at caribserve.com, and you can put your submissions now. Important, April 26th. This is Friday. Those submissions need to be in by April 26th. Today, Dr. Ferdinand, they only had 2 submissions, and we have thousands of people who are watching the show, and we only had 2 submissions.
Two submissions.
2 submissions tonight. Not good. Not good. We need to make sure that we are doing what we need to do. We can't march if you don't make the submissions, Heather. Basically, what's happening is everything that we've done so far, you're going to make it. It's going to be null and void. The battle at this moment is right there with those submissions. The battle is with the committee right now. We also need people to do presentations, Heather.
Can you repeat that?
We need people to do presentations. I'm
Okay.
seeing you. So they need not just written presentations, but to actually go in to Parliament and to make presentations. And there are lots of you out there that you have the ability to do that. And some of you want to do that. Let's take it to them. Go inside of Parliament and make that presentation. And you can make that request at the same email address, which is
Can you repeat the email address, Marcia?
Parliament Barbados at caribserve.com. All right?
Okay.
Parliament Barbados at caribserve.com. You can make those requests there. That let them know you want to do a presentation in Parliament. Okay, you can actually do that. Dr. Ferdinand, I think that is good, and our leader of opposition was there, right in there this evening.
Yes, he was.
Yes, but we want to make sure that when he goes in, he has, there's a lot of submission from the people of Barbados. You see what I mean? And not just written submissions, but to go in and make the face-to-face presentations. Yes?
Yeah,
Dr. Ferdinand, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's very important. But what I found interesting today as well was I think it's Gregory Nichols. I believe is he Senator Nichols in the Senate. I found it very interesting that he raised as well several areas of concern in terms of the broadness of the bill, and he did address concerns in one or two of the areas that we are expressing our concerns with, and even the chairman himself did identify a couple of areas that were kind of too broad, and the matter with the criminalization of certain aspects of the bill. I think again it was Senator Nichols that raised the aspects of, I can speak in a public environment and not be subject to the law. But if I take that speech and I put it on the internet or social media platforms, then I can be fined and so on. And there seem to be an inconsistency there. And these are things that we need to raise. We need to raise the matter. And I will say the church needs to get, Marcia, very serious with this cybercrime bill, because in much of our presentations, we are, for the lack of a better word, we are critical of certain lifestyles. And the bill is to my mind, so, what should I say? I mean, I think there's a matter of,
So
if I
why?
hurt your feelings,
Mhm.
it's almost ridiculous to think that I could be fined up to $70,000 or 7 years imprisonment for hurting your feelings. I mean, some of these things are absolutely ridiculous. And I do know that Sir David Simmons took some time at the end to address the terms, or should I say, let me just look here and see how to see. Yeah, the terms of reference. He did take the time to go through the terms of reference. And in one or two areas, he did indicate that he could not speak to them because they would have, it's out of their purview. But somehow, again, Marcia, I heard Caswell make mention of the fact that the whole scenario of them sitting was what should I say? It was not lawful, not authentic. That's not the word I want. In that it's coming after the case, and that's something I think that somebody
Yeah.
needs to be able to say straight to them.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Franklin is here. I know he's here to talk about, another topic, and we don't want to, harp away on this topic. But I don't know if he had a chance to listen to any of the presentations today. They're talking a lot about intent and recklessness within the bill, but we must realize that the bill that was put up in Parliament on the Parliament website did not have those terminologies in there. And if they do, now we were able to see what if there a different version, whether there's a different version of this bill, etc. But before Dr. Ferdinand, I just wanted to hear if Caswell, just 2 minutes, Caswell, not too long because we have so many things. Any thoughts on what happened today?
Yes, thanks, Marcia, and good night, everyone. And I'm so happy to be here again today. I started to listen to the Joint Select Committee this evening when I got home because it was very busy today. People were just streaming in the office, so I didn't get a chance to listen to it live. And I almost cried when I saw what they were doing and what Sir David Simmons allowed himself to be caught up in. They have lost their way, and they have to try to find somebody with the standing of Sir David to pull back the nonsense that they have done. And I don't think he should allow himself to be compromised in that way. One, he had no right in there, and he ought to know better. He was a member of the House of Assembly. He was leader of the government business in the House. So he knows, or ought to have known, that there can be no Joint Select Committee. Let me read for you, Marcia, what the standing orders say. The standing order, it is standing order 56. It says, once the second reading of any bill has been agreed to or negative, no question shall be proposed during the same session for the second reading of any other bill containing substantially the same provisions or an order of the day related to such a bill being called. The Speaker shall direct the bills to be withdrawn. So the Speaker should not allow a bill to come back to the House once it has substantially the same provisions in the same session. All right. This bill now, a Joint Select Committee of the House, means that the bill is before the House and the Senate as well. All right. It is before both. And the standing orders, and I have not heard anybody start moving any motion to suspend the standing orders so that they can do this. This is a reckless act. I have to use the word reckless. They did put reckless in the bill, but to tell you the truth, how are you going to determine a man in his house sitting down and the police comes to your house and says that, with a warrant, they said that they suspect you to will commit some offense? How is that? How are you going to determine recklessness in an area like that? It is a bunch of foolishness. I think I heard Sir David say that he was there at his mandate from the Law Revision Commission. The Law Revision Commission should be examining things I talked about last night, like that piece of legislation that dealt with $15,000 for a small estate since 1948, and it's still that. That's what they should do. When legislation is passed before the House and the Senate, and the Law Revision Commission sees aspects of it that are not consistent with what they know to be good practice, they can refer it back to the Attorney General or even make some minor corrections, especially if it's grammar. But they are not there to debate. They are not there to draft. They're not there to do any new legislation. And this is new legislation. So the Law Commission, as far as I'm aware, the Law Revision Commission hang on the role inside there. You see, they needed somebody with the standing of Sir David to pull back this foolishness that they have done. And because he is so highly respected in this country, but he's squandering that respect. So to be fair, I have immense respect for that gentleman. But this time, he has allowed people to abuse him. And at his time, I think his birthday is this week or next week, the 28th. And at his age, he should not allow people to do this thing to him. I don't care how much he loves the Barbados Labour Party and tries to save them from themselves. He should not have been in there. He has no reason. He has no right. He has no calling to be inside there trying to resurrect the Barbados Labour Party's reputation or whatever. This bill, if you remember, cost the Waller at a meeting by the Prime Minister, all of them were present, said that this bill will stop the people from cursing the ministers. That is their intent. That is the instruction that they have given to their people. That is what they're saying. So whatever Sir David come and say after this, that isn't in what they are intending to do. So even if they're talking about recklessness, they got nothing to do with recklessness. This has to do with the fact that this bill is being, the provisions of this bill are taken from international sources to try to criminalize people who use the internet to speak up, like the Marcia Week show. This is all about. There is no, and I heard them throwing in this thing with pornography and child pornography and all kind of stuff. That is their red herring. It was already in the law that they're repealing. Don't repeal the law that you have, and then you won't got a problem. You know, so I am very upset that they are doing an illegal act, trying to put a law in place by doing something illegal or wrong. 2 minutes, Marcia.
yeah. But Dr. Ferdinand, we it's good to hear, always good to hear Caswell's viewpoint on it. And I thank all the panelists who've made a big issue of this, so that this is what has happened as a result of that, and that we can now have this time that we have the opportunity to go into Parliament and to make presentations in Parliament, make submissions. This is what it's all about. So we have this opportunity, and it's good that we can use it, and because it's good. But over to you, Dr. Ferdinand.
But Marcia, I think we need to remind the people as well that the submissions have to be in by this Friday. And that doesn't give us a lot of time. That's today's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So they need to get those submissions completed as quickly as possible and get them in. I believe the bill itself can be viewed at www.barbadosparliament.com. That's where you can actually see the bill there, and you can go through the bill. And the sections, Caswell, if I recall specifically that we were looking at, I think it was sections, 20, 21, 22, 23, something like that.
Yes.
I really remember the specific sections. And I heard reference made to those areas today. And I also found it and I agree with you. You know, I've known Sir David for a very long time, but I believe that probably, Caswell, the reason that he is in there, it would appear to me that he was a part of the grouping that kind of conceived this and put it together. And subsequently, he was invited in to, give clarity, give explanation, and so on. Not discounting what you have indicated in terms of recouping the image of the Labour Party.
Look, Freddie, that is the role of the Attorney General. He has been he's been the Attorney General in 2001. That is not his role. The Attorney General, or whichever minister piloted this bill, should have been in there. If it was in order, there should be persons inside there. They can't defend it, so they want somebody of his eminence to come in and save them from themselves, because they can't do it themselves. He is their drawing card when they want to try to put wrong things right. But he's very good at the law. He's very good.
Oh yes,
he has a marvelous brain up to now.
Oh yes.
So they are calling upon it, and hopefully they will use him, and the people know him, so that people have confidence in him, and that's why he should not allow himself to be abused like this. He has no calling inside there. Who was the chairman of the committee today?
Hinkson, Member of Parliament Hinkson.
Oh Lord.
You know,
I didn't see. I just started by saying
the reason you have me laughing is because I was thinking to myself when you said, about the brilliance of his brain at this stage, that it seems to be far superior than the current AG, who I think is substantially younger than he is. And
that is an insult. That is an insult to Sir David. The Attorney General, the current Attorney General, had no brain. So if his was 10 times better than someone is 10 times not is not. You can't do that to him.
No, I'm saying that maybe that's why they asked him, because the current one, it was beyond him to do that. I don't know.
I believe so. I believe that with all my heart. I don't believe any of them could come in there and do the job that they want Sir David to do. But my problem is that he should not be doing it, because he should know and ought to know that it is out of order. He was leader of government business in the House.
That's correct.
He should know the standing orders.
But then again, we're dealing with an
Thank you so much, Caswell, for that. But
gone into my time.
And I think
can I add something before you go on?
Just a minute. About this cybercrime bill.
Yes.
Okay, just quickly, yeah.
All right. I wanted to remind everyone that it was a similar bill, a cybercrime bill, that allowed the Senegalese president to restrict access to the internet between 1 p.m. in the afternoon to 2 p.m. in the morning, to prevent people from airing views about the upcoming election. So it had a significant effect on Senegal, and the same thing can happen in Barbados. If those times were utilized, it would prevent the Marcia Week show from being aired on the internet. And that is not something that we want to happen.
Thank you, Heather. I think that's very, very important. And these are some of the things that we can include in our presentations, even the face-to-face presentations in Parliament, examples on how this might have been misused over in various countries in the world. And so do your research and put together the presentations. I think it's important that we fight back and we use our intellect. You can research. There's so many things that have happened all over the world, especially Senegal, with this kind of a bill. So let's get cracking. But Dr. Ferdinand, time is going, and I think
Yes.
yeah, go ahead, Dr. Ferdinand.
No,
Yeah,
I just wanted to
introduce-
mention that a bit of the research can be done by the U.S. Congress and Senate as well, because the president there has just signed a bill quite similar in the context of being able to reach anywhere around the world, and in terms of their citizens and information and so on. So the research, I think they need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Mr. Franklin, we have a few minutes here for you to do the presentation on the Employment Rights Tribunal. I've been trying to get it to happen, to get us to announce it, and we're talking about the cybercrime bill. So let me just go ahead and announce it. And so you can go ahead, sir. I know you wanted to do this since yesterday.
Thanks again. I don't mind going into my time with this thing because the cybercrime bill is too important.
Yes.
Because
yes,
if the cybercrime bill is passed in the form that they have it, we won't be able to
There you
do
go.
what I do now on the show and point people where their rights are. So
right.
I don't mind giving away as I'm trying to crave any time, because this is first and foremost, we got to get past this or not. This is the end of the Marcia Week show, and I don't intend to sit down and let the Marcia Week show
come to an end, not this
come
way.
to an end, and
Not
I do
anyway.
nothing.
That's
Right? So it comes to the end when Marcia Weeks decides that it comes to an end, not before.
That's right.
Anyhow,
I'm
Employment
tempted to
Rights
say-
Act,
I'm tempted to
Employment
say
Rights Tribunal. Well, I do preach at times. The Employment Rights Tribunal. Prior to the Employment Rights Act was passed in 2012, and it received its assent by the Governor General, the acting Governor General it was at the time, Sir Elliot Belgrave. I don't think it was Sir yet. And it then took a little while to be brought into force. As a matter of fact, it was brought into force and then undo it and then put it back again, which was also an illegal act, but thankfully it's here. It came into force on the 15th of April 2013. Prior to that date, an employer could have fired an employee for any reason or for none, as long as you did not breach your contract. Which means that if he said that you were entitled to a month's notice, and he gave you that month's notice, he could have sent you home, and there was no compensation coming toward you. This act come up with something called unfair dismissal, where even if the dismissal is allowed under common law, it will still be an unfair dismissal because they're now creating a situation where they breach the Employment Rights Act as opposed to breaching your contract. So even if they could get away with it in terms of what your contract says, they must give you certain rights, right to be heard. That right is, and the right to defend yourself and right to have a representative. And then it sets out that you just can't fire somebody for frivolous reasons. But they didn't use the word frivolous, but that's what we call it. They created something that we call progressive discipline. If a fellow went to work and he make a mistake, you don't fire him for that. You could give him a warning. You can give him a written warning. But you have to go through this progression. Mind you, if it is gross misconduct, where you go in there and abuse the boss, pack rocks at the place, thief the people money, them kind of things, they can fire you for the first offense. Don't mind, I hear a union person on the internet, what somebody sent to me on WhatsApp, telling a seminar that they were conducting that they have to give you 3 warnings. That is rubbish. They don't have to give you 3 warnings if the dismissal is for gross misconduct. You're amongst something called gross misconduct. It is so bad that they can't take you. For instance, let's say you were an accountant, you thief people money, you think they're going to give a warning? So don't let nobody confuse your head with this. If you want to hear anything, you come to Marcia and ask us. We will tell you. The act then also created a body called the Employment Rights Tribunal. That tribunal consists of 3 lawyers and 6 laypersons. 3 lawyers, one of whom is the chairman of the tribunal, which is an unnecessary, like a 5th wheel to the chariot, because you don't need a chairman of the tribunal when you already have, they have 3 panels, and each panel is chaired by a lawyer. The chairman has got no more duties than anybody else. But I think somebody came up with the wrong idea, because, for instance, we have in the Severance Payments Act tribunals, and each tribunal has a chairman, and I think there are 4 tribunals for severance pay, and one chairman don't give instructions to any other chairman or any other panel. They deal with their own panel. I think it should have been something like that. That is neither here nor there. But even so, we have a situation where the chairman has resigned over a year now, and he has not been replaced. Now, you cannot ask but the only one who can replace him is the minister responsible for labor. And I am hearing they're talking all over their face about strengthening the tribunal and giving it all kinds of things. However, you can't strengthen the tribunal if you don't provide money. And in the estimates, they did not put a penny more than they did the year before. So it means that they intend to continue the way they were going. But unfortunately for us, the tribunal has heard so far, has given one decision so far for the year. A case begins and Rubis with the discrimination, because they don't only deal with unfair dismissal, they deal with discrimination, they can deal with vacation pay, or they can take that matter to court. So the tribunal has a lot of duties. Let me tell you what the duties are, so that people would understand where they're coming from. Under Section 6 of the Act, it says, and I'm reading from the amendments to the Act and not the original Act. It says the function of the tribunal. The function of the tribunal is to enforce the rights conferred upon persons by this Act or under any other enactment that provides for enforcement by the tribunal, and for that purpose, to exercise jurisdiction specified in subsection 2. And the jurisdiction that specified in subsection 2 is the jurisdiction of the tribunal is to determine complaints made to it under this Act or under any other enactment that provides for enforcement by the tribunal, and subject to section 48 to make awards or other decisions in relation to those complaints in accordance with its powers. All right, so the tribunal can make these decisions in accordance with the function under Section 7. It is created by Section 6, and Section 7 says these are the functions of the tribunal. However, the tribunal is not carrying out those functions. This is now April, almost the end of April, 4 months into the year, and there's one decision, and there are hundreds of cases waiting to be determined by the tribunal. Now, what happens there? And I can tell you what has happened in my experience. An employer fires a person. That person came to see me. We go to the labor department, and the employer then admits that the dismissal is unfair. So from there, he should be paying compensation. But the labor department cannot make anybody pay compensation. The labor department could sit down there and make sure that the 2 parties don't fight. Keep the proceedings civil. That is what the role of the labor department when it comes to these meetings with the employer and the employee. I represented at least 3 people where the employer said, admit, yes, that the dismissal is unfair. And and in one case, it says the compensation was going to be something like $50,000. The employer knows that the person is poor, can't hold out, says to me, look, we know that if it goes to the tribunal, he can get $50,000. But we could give him $25,000 tomorrow. Or he can wait 5 years till the case comes before the tribunal. Which you want? The poor fellow take $20,000. So that is what not having the tribunal work is doing to workers in Barbados. It should be against the law. You could settle above the minimum settled in the Act, but it should not be allowed to settle below it. And if it is done so, it will be illegal, and you will pay the necessary compensation. That is the only way that employers will stop abusing people that know that they have wronged. They acknowledge that they have done something wrong, but the tribunal has not been meeting. The tribunals, because there are basically three panels of this tribunal, because each case is adjudicated by one lawyer and two other persons. One is nominated by the trade union movement, and one is nominated by the employers. So they have the employers making recommending the appointment of three people, and the unions recommend the appointment of three people. So a panel consists of a lawyer, representative from the employers, a representative from the unions. And then each panel then hears the case and make their decision. But we ain't getting any decisions. And that is unfair. I'm calling upon the Minister of Labor to make sure that he put provisions in place and stop giving all these promises, because promises are a comfort to a fool, right? I see Aunt is asking about the issues of enforceability and teeth. The Act says, and nobody knows how to implement this, and this is something that the minister has to make clear, or that the Chief Justice or somebody issue practice directions, because I don't know, because I have had one case that I was involved in, and the employer, even though the tribunal says you have to pay X amount of money, the employers refuse. Now, if you refuse to pay, you can take the matter to court, and it should be, as a matter of fact, the Act says that it can be enforced in the same way as a judgment in the magistrate's court. However, when the lawyer took the appeal to the magistrate's court, nobody in the magistrate's court knew what to do, up to and including the magistrate. It says here, section 47, where 47.1, where A, the tribunal makes an order or award in respect of the payment of a sum, and B, the chairman or deputy chairman of the tribunal certifies that the order or award has been made, and specifies the terms of the order or award in the certificate, the order or award is enforceable as if it were an order made by a magistrate's court in civil proceedings. Then, now, that is the case, but how do you get from the tribunal's award to the magistrate's court? The magistrates don't know. Nobody's ever told them.
Wow.
And so that is another problem that Colin Jordan and his people in the Ministry of Labor must fix. It is causing untold hardship on people who, for no fault of their own, lose their jobs just because an employer feels he can do it. And we have some unscrupulous employers that say, "This is my place, leave." That is automatically unfair. But in order to be paid your compensation, You got to go and present yourself before a tribunal that is not meeting. And that the minister is promising all glorious things for the Employment Rights Tribunal, but none of these glorious things have actually borne fruit. He's just a talker, or talking head, because there's no action. Heads don't act, hands act. He just talks, and nothing happens for the poor workers. I don't know if it is deliberate because they try to save the employers from paying out money, because they're then the employers who put them in power, give them money for their campaigns,
Right.
so they don't want to hurt them. I hear that they are proposing amendments to the act, and some of the things that I hear being proposed don't need amending, but the employers don't like them, because one of the things that they're complaining about is that if you fire somebody without going through the necessary procedure, then the dismissal is automatically unfair. So says the Court of Appeal of Barbados. So there's no question of fair or unfair dismissal. The dismissal is automatically unfair. The reason for that is that if you fire somebody, you have to have a good enough case that can stand up somewhere. You just can't fire them. And Section 29(5) of this act says that if it is for conduct or performance, you must go through certain steps. And those certain steps are settled in the 4th schedule that says the employer must settle in writing the alleged conduct or characteristics of the employee or other circumstances which led him to contemplate taking disciplinary action against the employee. And B, send a statement or a copy of it to the employee and invite the employee along with his representative, if any, to attend a meeting to discuss the matter. So if you don't go through that step, your dismissal is automatically unfair, whether the person did the worst thing. So do the right thing. That is all the legislation is asking you to do. Do the right thing. Give some person the opportunity to be heard. And there is also a provision in C, part C. This is B. Part C says that if it amounts to something like gross misconduct, you don't have to go through all those steps. You can terminate the person, but then tell them they have the right to appeal. If you don't do that, the dismissal is automatically unfair again. So you have to give people the right to be heard. If it is not gross misconduct or something of a serious nature, you come in and wave a knife at somebody and think the people get frightened for you, they may want you to come back and they will another knife, so they fire at the same time. But then when they do that, mind you, should call it police fear, but if they can do that, then you have to say you have the right to appeal. And for God's sake, if you have fired a person because you believe that he has done something wrong, don't do the appeal too, because if you do so, you'll be a judge of your own cause. The lawyers like to say, and you can't do that. So all I want tonight is for the tribunals to get down and start working, because you understand there is only one chairman left, one deputy chairman left. No chairman. There's a chairman and 2 deputies. I understand there's one left now, Miss Hamblin. There's no chairman, nobody appointed a chairman or whatever, because Mr. Blackman went to the what they call the Constitutional Review Commission, and he's no longer, he's withdrawn from that, he's resigned or whatever. Nobody's replaced him. This does not look like a government that is reaching out and trying to look out for the best interests of the poor people, because there are not very many people who get rich from employment, from working for somebody. I saw a video today where the fellow says his boss drove in with this brand new Dodge Ram vehicle, and he admired the vehicle, and the boss said to him, if you come to work and you work hard and don't take these sick days and work overtime, I'll be able to afford another one this next year. So that is what's happening in Barbados. You don't get rich working for people, but the little bit that you get, and the government should make sure that the employers don't cheat you out of it. And they are doing everything possible to make sure that, because they've done it with the severance payment during COVID, they unfair so many people. People lost their severance pay because they listened to the Prime Minister and Minister of Labour telling them all kind of fancy things, and the employers tricked them. And then when they thought they were going to get rehired, they weren't rehired, and then they were too late to file because the government bring down the time for filing from a year to a month. So you ended up people losing their jobs. Mind you, they were all hopeful, they were all trusting of the government, and the government tricked them. So you don't. So when you see things like this might just be unaware of the government trying its best to make sure that they don't put the employers in a position where they got to pay compensation. They find a way out. And finally, I'm going to say this. Once compensation used to be based on 4 weeks pay for each completed year of service. The government, under Tom Adams, left it at 4 weeks pay for each complete year of service, but capped what a week's pay was. A week's pay was the national insurance maximum. Then under Sandyford in 1991, he changed it from 4 weeks pay to 2.5 weeks pay for the first 10 years, 3 weeks for the next 10, and 3.5 weeks for the next 13, which will give you a maximum of 33 years that you can get compensated for under severance and now under this piece of legislation. However, this legislation was, I don't think they intended it. And they said that they don't have the distinctions. You get 2.5 for the first 10 years and 3 for the next 10. If you have under 10 years, you get 2.5 weeks for each year. If it is 10 weeks or more but less than 20, you get 3 weeks for the entire period. So that is the difference between the severance pay and this act. You get more money if you've been there for more than 10 years than if you've gone the route of severance. But severance is also covered in this act, because if you're going to be severed, there are certain procedures that you must follow. But I see we're encroaching on somebody else's time, so if I didn't, I will come back another time. But I just want to let people know and to let the government realize that we are watching you and we are insisting that you do your duty by the workers of this country. You are not. You are taking care of the rich, giving them all kind of concessions, giving and waiving public transfer tax, left, right, and center, waiving duties, waiving everything that you can waive for rich people. And poor people can't even get little compensation after they have been working for you and for years. And it is heart-wrenching to see a guy came to me today, 44 years at one workplace, and they now have decided that they can put you on 3 weeks pay for the longest time. 3 weeks, 3 days pay a week. So what happens? You do not go below the 20 hours a week.
20 hours,
So
yeah.
so if you get less than 20 hours, less than half, you can claim unfair dismissal or severance after time. But if they keep you at over 20 hours a week, then you don't got nothing. So they just keep you there and keep you suffering, because it's not short time. Short time is under.
Right.
If you normally work 40 hours, it's less than half, and so they give you 24. And the government ain't doing nothing to protect workers.
To protect them.
Just talk.
You know, it's funny. You know, it's funny that somebody actually only this week Sunday, yesterday Sunday, said to me, you know, Marcia, I had a case before the Employment Rights Tribunal, and nothing has come of it. It's unfair dismissal, and as you were talking, no teeth, no nothing. You know, it's like they've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and they had decided on that particular case, but the employer decides to take it a little further, and they don't want to pay this person. So I totally understand. I was listening and saying, my goodness, thank you so much, Mr. Franklin, for taking the time to explain all of that to us. But I know, Dr. Ferdinand, we have to go on to talk
Marcia,
about
before you
Drax
go,
Hall.
I just want to blow a little trumpet here and say the only case that the tribunal has done so far this year, I won.
That you won.
Yeah,
That's the Unity Workers Union.
that's a little
Franklin.
that's a burn my own trumpet there.
That's all right. That's all right. You got to do it because, if you don't do it, they go in Parliament and try to embarrass you as they tried to do Unity Workers Union. But they're afraid of you, and that's why they're doing that. And we want to celebrate that. Can we just have, at least 15 minutes talk about Drax Hall? And guess what, guys? We do have someone from the community of Valentine. And they are going to come on, Dr. Ferdinand. I didn't know if we were going to get somebody, but they're going to come on tonight to tell us about what is happening, give us an update. They have a petition as well. Let me tell you, Barbados is moving. Barbados is saying no way. So let's talk about Drax Hall. This has become an international issue right now. Heather, fill us in and talk to us about Drax Hall. You're muted.
Hi, to give you a brief history, Drax Hall is one of the oldest plantations in Barbados. It is in St. George, for those who do not know, and it has been in the same family from the time that it was founded as a plantation until this day. And there is a present MP in the House of Parliament in the UK whose family has owned this plantation. I do not have his name offhand. I would have to pull up an article to find it. However, it has been in his family. Yes, Ferdy?
Richard Drax.
Yes,
Richard Drax.
Yes. So it has been in one family. And a few years ago, there was a rumbling that I remember the professor from the university was saying that it should be that the government should get this plantation as part of reparations, right? This was from the principal of the UWI. And it sounds well and good, all well and good. However, we have heard recently that, and it was in the Guardian Online, that the government of Barbados is purchasing several, I think it is 20 hectares or something like that of land from the plantation for lower and middle class housing. And this does not make any sense at all however, it is in a similar vein to what the government of Barbados is doing. They say one thing and they do another.
That's right.
How in good conscience can the government of Barbados be advocating for reparations? And they had this big thing and had that lady, Esther Phillips, as one of their poster childs talking about Drax Hall and reparations. And incidentally, that lady's family had lived at Drax Hall, so she knows the suffering of the people who have lived on that plantation, and she's related to people who lived on that plantation. I think it's a slap in the face to have somebody as the poster child for reparations and saying that, yes, this house should be used as reparations, as part of the reparations package, and then turn around and say that you are going to be buying some of the land from Mr. Drax. It doesn't make any sense. It is in conflict. The two things are in conflict with one another. You cannot be for reparations and yet be buying something from somebody. It would be best for the government to seek the entire property as part of reparations and not use the taxpayers' money to buy it, because we will be spending the taxpayers who are the descendants of Drax Hall, the slaves who lives on Drax Hall, their taxpayers' money will be being used to purchase what they of themselves should own. And that doesn't make any sense. So what I can also tell you is that for about 20 years or more, there have been this reparations. They have a whole section at the UWI in Mona for reparations. And for 20 years or more, all they have been doing is talking about reparations, talking. To me, they have not made any progress. It would have been better if all of the money that was spent to date could have been used to to build houses for poor people, the poor and the middle class of Barbados, because I see it as contributing to a waste. It has not achieved anything, and they have a 10-point plan, and their 10-point plan excludes funding going to the descendants of the former enslaved. All the funds will do is go towards government projects and things like that. People will not see a cent. It may be better if people contact the British government on behalf of their own families for their own reparations, because if they're waiting for a government, they will not get anything. And to get back to Mr. Drax, Mr. Drax and his family have made so much money out of this plantation that they can close their eyes and give it to the people who are the descendants of the enslaved who lived on that plantation. So I hope that specifically, just as the people at Valentine are rising up to petition, that the people who live on Drax Hall lands now, and then everybody else in Barbados will be up against the government for purchasing this land. And to date, well, the story only broke recently, but however, I have not heard anything from the opposition on this, and I think it is too big an issue for them not to respond, to say anything. It is against anybody's conscience who is a descendant of a former enslaved person to believe that this could be right. Why the British government paid millions and millions of pounds to the slave owners for having people enslaved. They never gave the enslaved or their descendants a cent. For the government to give him money is a slap in every Barbadian's face. So I hope that something will be done about this. We should not sit back and let this happen. This is a time to tell me straight off no. You have to put your money where your mouth is. You can't be for reparations and pay taxpayers' money to Mr. Drax to buy lands. It doesn't sit well with me at all. It doesn't make no sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't sit well with
Go ahead, Dr.
Yeah, it doesn't sit well with me either, Heather. I mean, I'm looking, and Mr. Drax is described in the same article that you all are looking at there now, is described as one of the wealthiest MPs, valued at £150 million. So clearly, he doesn't need money.
He does not.
He does not need money. And then, it's an insult, because when you have persons of the caliber, and I will put it this way, the caliber of Sir Hilary Beckles, you have one of their own MPs, Mr. Prescott. You also have Esther Phillips, a historian, a Barbadian poet. All of them speaking out against this. I'm embarrassed, because this is an international thing, Heather. This is not something just local here in Barbados, kept. Maybe this is why they want to pass the cybercrime bill, so that these kind of things don't get spread all over the world.
Right. We can't hear you.
You're muted, Dr. Ferdinand.
Sorry, that my system, I hit my thing. Because I think it's an insult. It's a slap in the face of Barbadians to take our money. I mean, I am looking at the article, and I can't believe that a minister would be so naive as to suggest, and I want to read specifically what it says. Barbados Housing Minister Dwight Sutherland, whose constituency in St. George Parish includes Drax Hall, said, "This is an acquisition process at market value. We compensate the landowners. So the people who suffered are not deserving of compensation." Exactly. That is what Mr. Sutherland has just said.
I must disagree, though, because you are mixing two different things. are three things. One, this is some of the land that is the most fertile land in Barbados.
Correct, yes.
And you should not be taking it out of agriculture to put houses on it, whether it's for the poor, middle class, the rich, or anybody at all. That is one. Two, at the end of slavery, the British government took a loan to pay the people who owned
We're not hearing you
slaves.
well, Caswell. I'm not hearing you well.
Yeah, your
you started
volume has
off
dropped
great.
a lot.
Yeah, the
Your
people, the
volume has
British
dropped a lot.
government, I don't know if you hear me better now. The British government took a loan that was only paid back here when Tony Blair, I think, was Prime Minister. They only finally paid it then. They took a loan to pay.
Caswell, the people are saying they're not hearing you well. So something changed a while ago. Something changed, and we want to hear
Make sure,
you.
make sure you haven't knocked the connection that plugs into the computer or anything
Okay,
like that.
something
Casper.
so
Well, let
like
me see.
something
You hear
connected.
it better now?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just take it from the microphone. I'm using the microphone on the device. I was saying that the British government took money, borrowed money. It was only paid back here recently to pay to the people who lost their slaves. They lost property, so they treated our ancestors as property, and the government compensated them for the loss of their property. What we should be doing in Barbados and around the world for people who were enslaved is that the British government should also compensate those people who were torn from Africa and compensated. Because when Drax and his family bought slaves they were not breaching any law, that was a British law. The British government should pay compensation. I'm talking about taking up people's property and whatever else and stuff. I would like to see that the property is out of the hands of anybody else other than poor people in this country. But at the same time, I am not going to be one to say that he should not be paid for the land. He did not commit any single offense in the law or any else for that matter. And the law in Barbados only allows you to pay market value or better. The Land Acquisition Act, you can't pay less. So you can't take it away from him and unless you amend the Constitution. Mind you, they have the power to amend the Constitution now, like Tom Adams did in the 80s, early 80s, 81, 82, to take away the lands from the people, but it was mostly the marginal lands that the people on the plantations live on, the Tenantry Freehold Purchase Act. And he allowed them to purchase it for 10 cents a square foot and says that the act must be interpreted to conform as though it conformed with the Constitution. So it is not a simple thing of talking about taking land. This body had the land, and a professor this and professor that, and this body that.
Yeah,
they
but
are
Caswell,
going after the wrong people. The wrong people is the British government. They can't go after the British government because the British government now and pay them in the mind. It is the British government that owes this debt.
Yeah, Caswell.
Yeah, so
we just had
3
a
minutes,
situation.
literally
Yeah.
3 minutes.
We just had a situation where the Barbados government acquired land belonging to persons on Bay Street by compulsory acquisition. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why couldn't the same act be done where Drax is concerned?
They are doing it. That's what they're doing. The Drax offered it for sale, and the government said they're going to acquire it. The government is only because they can pay the same price as if they were purchasing it from him by private treaty. Mm-hmm. But land acquisition makes it like the government taking it away. He wanted to give it up. So it is not. So the government is just using semantics to make it look that they're taking away the property. This is being done by under the Land Acquisition Act when the owner has already said he's willing to sell. The price can be the same whichever you use, but land acquisition will make it look as though the government take away the land from them, and that is the problem. A lot of show trying to give people the impression they're not doing anything sensible. The man to get the land anyhow.
So technically, he's within his legal right. What we are saying here then
is that
right.
the government is also in legal rights to take any property because there's something called eminent domain. They can take any land, but it must be for public purpose. Like the one Miss Rand was not for public purpose because public purpose can be given to somebody else.
But public
Why-
purpose in this instant is housing.
Yeah, but the
Why?
Right.
the people
So
need
we
housing.
have 1 minute. We can always
Right.
come
One
back to this.
question.
We can always come back.
Okay.
Heather
okay,
and
okay.
Heather, and then a quick
Yeah.
answer. A quick
Okay.
answer, and then we have to move on. Okay.
Why can't Mr. Drax give the land to the people? Why? Why does the government have?
Don't need the money, not at $150 million of value.
If he wants to, he can give the land to who he likes. But you see, you are asking him to be kind and to be nice. There's no law that says that you gotta be nice. What the law is, he is covered by the law, and the government is doing what they're doing. You see, reparations. This is not reparations. This has got nothing to do with reparations because reparations should come from the people who allowed you to take away the property and the first take away the people from Africa in the first place. That was the British government. The British government paid reparations to one set of people and did not pay it to the next. And that is what we should be fighting. Not Drax, not Skinner, not mayors, not anybody who own lands that been formerly slave plantations. And but we have a lot of emotive talk because Hillary Beckles and a few other people and Trevor Press get up and talk pretty, and people get that's how come people go and riot and do things because somebody's get front and talk pretty. That's how come we got this government now because Mayor government talk pretty. Don't talk pretty.
Yeah.
Reason out what is happening. And the government right now is trying to make you feel that they are doing something. They're not doing anything. And then to put it in agricultural land, like they're doing in Valentine, to take agricultural land and put it in housing, it's stupid.
All right, let's get back to this.
But, you know, I'm glad you mentioned because we need to get back to this because I think the chat they have a lot of questions and a lot of them they're not necessarily in agreement with Mr. Franklin. So we're going to have a good discussion afterwards about it and to have some meeting of the minds. But something that you talked about taking good agricultural land. And yes, and putting it into housing. And that's what is actually happening right there
happening all over.
In Valentine. And we are seeing it in not just Valentine, as Reverend said, it's in different parts of Barbados. And we're concerned because it's almost like, you know, we're choosing concrete over food. You know, it's like they're giving us concrete instead of food when we have such a high food bill. It's not making sense to us. So let's welcome a resident here from Valentine. I misplaced the name and I want to get
Mr. Randall Banfield. Mr. Randall Banfield, Marcia.
Mr. Randall, yes, Banfield.
Yes.
Yes, good night, sir. Let me see. Good night, Mr. Banfield. Good night.
Doesn't seem to be hearing us. Mr. Banfield, you're hearing us?
Banfield? I can't hear nothing.
Okay, yeah. But I can't come on there.
So tell me what.
They can't.
Okay.
Is your volume on?
Yeah.
We need his we just need his headphones. Okay. His headphones to come on.
Probably need his headphones. Can I just send you his number, Dr. Purdy?
Certainly.
And you try to walk him through it.
Well, I think his daughter is there, and his daughter's there. I think she's quite good at that. Because I heard her voice just now.
Yes.
But still send the number just in case. If I don't see something come up, I'll reach out to him.
Yes. Okay. So Heather, you were saying something before. Can you actually? The camera is off, so can you just please give him a call, Dr. Ferdinand? I would appreciate that. Thank you.
I was saying that we should not muddy the reparations process, because this is what this does. To explain it, one thing, we have been involved with one thing for reparations. Well, we have seen it one way. So why bring something else into the equations when we know that something was uniquely positioned as part of reparations? It muddies the entire process. We can't relate to that. Why couldn't the government could find more land to buy elsewhere, even if that guy wanted to sell or not? They could have gotten land from elsewhere, and he could have willed the land or bequeathed it or whatever, or given it to the the descendants of the former enslaved who still live on those plantation lands. So to me, it still ain't right. It's not right. It's as though he want to get off easy.
Yeah. Can I just read? There's a comment that is coming from the UK. St. Kitts. Everybody is in on this discussion. Read Drax Hall. It says, respectfully, I see no reason why the government of Barbados and Mia Mottley should not be critically attacked for its decision to pay out £3 million to Sir Richard Drax, an heir to generations of enslavers of Africans who were exploited, tortured, and brutalized as chattels on Drax's plantation in Barbados. There are several important reasons for being justly critical of the Mottley government for this decision. First and foremost, it is an onerous and frankly unnecessary tax burden on the same already marginalized Black underclass that exists in Barbados, partly due to the centuries of the Drax and other enslavement of their ancestors, the result of which is the collective poverty and structural underdevelopment of Barbados. Indeed, it is the centuries of the Drax and other enslavers' exploitation and abuse of Africans that created socio-economic inequities that is manifested in the severe shortage of affordable homes for marginalized Barbadians like those to benefit from the land owned by Richard Drax's enslaving family. Second, Sir Richard Drax is already a very wealthy British aristocrat whose family has acquired their wealth, like all enslaved, through the most horrendous, brutal, and savage exploitation of the unpaid labor of African chattels, that is today's Afro-Barbadians, who the generations of Drax family did not even recognize as human beings, but were recognized as equivalent to animals, like horses and cows on their crime-ridden slave plantation. Third, the generations of the Drax family who have owned this plantation have over centuries extracted fortunes, potentially hundreds of billions of pounds, at the expense of enslaved Africans, for which they are yet to pay reparations to the people of Barbados. Thus, for the government of Barbados, PM Mottley, to pay Richard Drax $3 million to acquire his illicitly acquired land is effectively to pay a benefactor of centuries of crimes against Africans in Barbados for repeatedly and help me with the word. My tongue is tied.
Unapologetically.
Unapologetically committing centuries of crimes on the property that is being acquired. This is a case of reparations going to one of the heirs of the enslavers instead of the heirs of the enslaved. By what measure of reasoning is this payment of $3 million to the heir of enslavement of Africans possibly just? Fourth, oh my Lord, it's a long article. I want to go into all of it, but let me just see if the gentleman is back as yet. No, they're not. They're not. Let me see. Dr. Ferdinand is here because time is.
Yeah, he's going to go back out and come in because he's had a bit of a challenge hearing us. We are hearing him, but he's not hearing us. So he's going to come out and come back in.
Yes. Let me just read a closing paragraph. He says, hence, I close this piece. I believe that it's critical that the reparations movement in Barbados, in the region and globally, be staunch not only in ramping up pressure against Richard Drax as a beneficiary of enslavement of Africans in Barbados and Jamaica, and the imperative that he and his family pay reparations to the government of Barbados and its people. However, it is also imperative that political pressures and legitimate critique must be put on and made of the Mottley government for its, what it's doing, etc., etc. So it's varying views that's coming in. That's coming in from the UK. Let me just hear what the chat is saying. Pedro is saying, "Oh, will the peasants receive reparations while white liberals seem to always control blacks," as Malcolm X said. Okay, so I guess people. Adrian says Motley once said that her party understood that they could not right 350 years of wrong.
Marcia, I ask a question now, is it? Because I tell you, people are mixing several things. All right. Let's say that I came from Africa on my own speed and I settled in Drax Hall. I'm a black fella. I'm in Drax Hall. How do you know that I am entitled to reparations? And it is not as easy as people talking about give it, because some of those people were there Drax Hall. Some of them, all of them are born there, all of them have got family from them. It is a very complicated issue, and people just talking because it is emotive, right? Somebody said Mackenzie, I think it's somebody Mackenzie said that it was wrong, and that the people have a right to take up the land that you don't want the right to take up the land. And people thought the land was illegally obtained. It was not illegally obtained. He had the plantation and they went and bought slaves that were legally available at the time. Now, the problem is that you owe reparations to the country that you took those slaves from, and you owe reparations to the people, those same slaves that you brought in, because the people suffered the loss of their people in Africa. And we then came here and they exploited us, make us work without a penny. And the only time they discovered that we could get the plantations done, farm without slave labor, it would be cheaper. That is when you had freedom. That's when you got freedom. Because if you look back in the Antigua Parliament, I think it is Otto Bear or the Bear, who said that in the House, because they didn't go through the apprenticeship system. He said, no, let them go along. It's cheaper. I did the numbers, and it's cheaper to cultivate my fields with paid labor than if I had to maintain the slaves, get them clothes, buy food, and all kind of stuff. So slavery was part of the economy. And it wasn't done because people saying, oh, we love black people and they shouldn't be black people bad. They don't want to walk about the place in England and saying that, and nobody paid them any money. It is only when they discovered that they could farm their fields cheaper with free people and pay them pittance, and especially like Barbados, where you couldn't go anywhere else because they had no other land for you to go and take up and farm. They had to stay on the plantation and work for pittance.
Yeah.
So
somebody said, yeah, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. Somebody says there are records in the archive showing that slaves belong to Drax Hall. That is not absolutely correct. What has happened here? Nobody, no black person was required to register a birth prior to 1899. So all of those black people who were born prior to 1899, you will not find a birth certificate for them. So you can't trace back your family's records before then.
Caswell, you are not correct. That is not true. There were the planters had to do returns to the British government to show property, and it was from 1812 that was done.
1899, we started registering births in Barbados. No, 1899, we started registering births in Barbados.
Look at the slave records.
I'm not talking about the slave records. I am talking about registering births in Barbados.
The returns, all of the slave owners had to register birth and death each year from 1812.
Listen to me.
No, you listen to me.
No, I am. Go and check. You will see the legislation. The legislation is, well, it's not on the books anymore, but it's still there for research. You were not required.
We can't hear him.
Yeah, we're not hearing you, Caswell. Caswell, we're not hearing you. Can you hear him, Heather?
No.
No, I'm not hearing him either.
Not hearing him. Okay, let me see. Mr. Banfield, can we hear
Can't
you?
get back to that.
Can you hear?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody.
good.
Yes, I'm hearing everybody at last.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Finally. We were holding for you because we really want to hear, sir.
Yes.
What is on your mind tonight, and we want to welcome you actually to the Marcia Week show, and to let you know that we're in solidarity with you. We are all about food and not concrete. So just go ahead and let us know, give us an update on what's happening with the in Valentine with this situation at this moment.
Well, yeah, thank you, Marcia, for having me on, and good evening to everybody who is with you and who may be tuned in. Yeah, I was having a little difficulty with the technology, but some folks at home helped me sort it out. So this is where we are with so a number of the residents up here have lodged their own individual objection to the application.
Mm-hmm.
The application is one that is requesting the subdivision of a parcel of land, which happens to be agricultural land, from the owner, from Newton Limited or Newton Plantation, I think it is, for further subdivision into residential lots. Now, this parcel of land is currently in sugarcane, healthy sugarcane, I might add, young sugarcane that was planted in, I think it was around late September or October last year. By the way, I've been living up here for 34 years in the same place. So I have a good observation of what happens with this land, what happens when it's raining, whether it's under cultivation or not, whether the folks look after it properly, get a good idea of what's yielding, what crops get rotated in and out. And from the time I've been here in 1990, it has been always under active cultivation, mostly sugarcane, but from time to time other crops, cotton more recently. But it's back in sugarcane now. So we have this parcel of land, which is good land. The Barbados Physical Development Plan, which was amended in 2023, classifies this land as super prime agricultural land. It has been reserved for agricultural purposes and is highly suitable for agricultural production. The same physical development plan quotes as follows: Barbados is a food scarce country with high levels of net food imports and minimal days of on-island supplies. The value of its food imports has reached, and the data here may be a little dated, but it could only get worse than this, has reached nearly Barbados 600 million annually. At the same time, the amount of agricultural land has declined from 44% of the island in the 1980s to a total of 26.5%, or just over 28,000 acres today, well below the government's minimum agricultural land allocation requirement of 30,000 acres. This situation is not only economically unsustainable, but it severely reduces the resiliency of the island when the impacts of the climate crisis and severe weather events are considered. Achieving food and nutrition security and sovereignty is recognized as one of Barbados's highest priorities. So this land is not just agricultural land. It has been designated under this plan, physical development plan, as super prime agricultural land. The subdivision is in major conflict with the physical development plan, and it is also in major conflict with our stated goals of trying to achieve or get closer to food security, food sovereignty.
Mhm.
So we have a big conflict here where we're saying, look, we need to produce more food. We have a very finite, limited, and perhaps dwindling agricultural land resource that we need to produce more from. And here we are taking super prime agricultural land out of production for the purposes of housing in an area where there are umpteen acres of non-arable land that is either totally unsuitable for growing or land that has been allowed to become unsuitable for agriculture. So that really is the crux of the complaint, of the objection. But there are other points to note. So this particular field is often flooded, often.
Okay.
Moderate
I
to
know you
heavy
have some
rainfall.
pictures. You want us to
I've
show
sent,
you some?
yes, you can show the photos. As I
Yeah.
said, I've lived up here for 30 years. These photos are not photos from 20 years ago. These are photos taken within the last 12 months to give you an idea of the amount of water that collects on this land that we are going to call or potentially call residential. This, I think this would have been taken October, November last year. There's another one I sent you. So this field, this photo that you're looking at here right now, this is the field. Well, this one now will show you the water streaming across the field. Every row is flooded. And if I had a video that I showed, that I sent you, you'll see that stream of water or river of water making its way down to the main road. Eventually it collects in a bottom down there. It can't, and when the land is full enough, it overflows into the road. So when we take this land and cover it down with concrete and tarmac for roads and houses and roofs, the permeability of the land to absorb water is significantly reduced because it's now covered down in materials that don't absorb water. A concrete road doesn't absorb water. So that flooding in the main road is going to get worse.
Yeah.
So all of that runoff now from this agricultural land that would absorb water normally, and that water presumably will make its way into recharging the aquifers. A lot of that water now can't get to the aquifers because the land is covered in roads, the land is covered in houses. It goes into the road and cause more flooding. So now we have a bigger problem. So not only have we taken good land for producing food out of production, but we've also impacted our water resources, the scarcity of water. That again, as a country, we want to see our water resources improve. We want more sustainability on the availability of water, and yet we're going to take good land and cover it down with
Roads and houses.
Urban activity, let's call it that, so it can no longer absorb. I'd sent you a couple of photos showing the land again, and how healthy these canes are. This sign was put up maybe 2 weeks ago, so these are current pictures. If you see, I think I sent you one with the sign as well, showing the that one, yeah. And if you can see that the canes are healthy. They've been growing. They're growing there every year. So look, according to the FAO, agriculture accounts for about 3% of our GDP, but it provides livelihood for hundreds, maybe thousands of people. It also states that climate change, world events, and economic instabilities combine to make islands like ours vulnerable to food insecurity. Preserving agricultural land is not about maintaining tradition. It's about ensuring that we can feed ourselves now and in the future. And we need to enforce policies that protect our agricultural lands from being converted into housing complexes and other urban uses. And I say that also against the backdrop that all around this area, you can find, I suspect it's hundreds of acres of land that is either totally unsuitable for agriculture and could easily be used for housing, or land that once was in agriculture 30 years ago that has been allowed to deteriorate into bush and wild tamarind and grass and produces nothing. It doesn't produce a pumpkin, a pigeon pea, nothing of the kind. And we are saying, leave all of that land like it is, and let's take up the good land that is producing now, has produced for the 34 years that I've been up here, and has the potential to produce in the future. We would prefer to use that for the housing. It just doesn't add up to me why we would choose this land. And to be honest, I have no experience in developing land or selling land, but I would think that land that has a problem with drainage would be difficult land to sell. And clearly, you can see from the photos there, that land, so on the one hand, it could produce, and on the other hand, the alternate use is to put it into something that it may not be suitable for.
Yeah. I'm listening. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
No. So you asked me what was going on up here. So a number of the folks who live here have already filed. Valentine is a very small community. There are 55 or 56 odd houses up here. I think many people who are on the island have already filed their objection. Those who want to, but we've had people reaching out from the wider Barbados, from the diaspora, saying, well, how can I help you? How can I help support the argument that you're making? Because it sounds to me like it is a sensible argument. So just earlier tonight, we put together a petition on change.org, which will now make it possible for the much wider community, dare say the world, to to lend their signature to support the petition. If you can help us to get the message out, there's a QR code that we have, that if you scan that, it'll take you straight to the link at change.org, and you can read the petition. It's a very simple petition, just saying, look, these are basic things that we need to protect for the future interests of all Barbadians.
Yes. I'm listening to you, sir, and I'm just amazed, because when I read what the Minister of Agriculture said, I'm wondering, did you get the residents along with yourself had a chance to speak with the minister?
No, we haven't spoken to the minister. I think there has been some. I haven't spoken to anyone in government, but I know that one or two of the residents have, and they've been advised that, look, there's a mechanism for filing an objection. Make sure and follow the mechanism for filing. So I think the objections have to be filed within 14 days of it appearing on the Town and Country Planning's website. And I think that 14 days expires this coming Wednesday. So we don't have a lot of time left. I know that the folks who live around here, many of them have filed already individually. But we need as much help. We need as much help as we can get to try to get the word out. So any help that you can give us, with getting the word out through your program, would be much appreciated.
Most definitely. So people outside of Valentine community can go to can go onto the website, the Parliament website, and register their concern, right?
So if they scan this QR code
that
you have up on the screen now, it will take them straight to the link where the where the petition is being hosted. It's through change.org, and the petition is all listed there. And you know, I think you can sign it. And so I said we managed to get it up about maybe an hour before I came on your program. We've had interesting response so far. So you know, but I think it's this petition. This petition may be Valentine may be the catalyst for this petition. But the reality is that we need, as a country, to respect the agricultural land and keep it for the purpose of growing food and improving our food security. That you know, we don't need a major crisis in Barbados. We only need a crisis for a couple of weeks in a country that we source a lot of product from, to find ourselves in a very difficult position when it comes to food and the availability of food. And being able to feed yourself, I think, is a priority that we talk about when we're in crisis.
Yes.
But when the crisis abates, somehow food security doesn't get the same level of priority, or so it feels to me. You know, we know the challenges we had back in the days of COVID getting a vaccine. The bigger countries, we had to be begging people to spare us a few vaccines for those people who wanted. We had to wait until large chunks of population of those big countries were fully inoculated before we could get relatively free access to vaccines. If a world crisis breaks out, you would imagine the same thing happening with food. You know?
Yeah.
No big country is going to export food to Barbados and leave their country where it's grown and produced short of what's enough to feed their people.
You're making a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
A lot of sense, sir. A whole lot of sense.
So we need to, you know, I think we need to really push this whole conversation around growing more and producing more, to protect ourselves really in the long run. Mind you, you know, look, if we are producing significant amounts of, I'm calling it local produce. I'm not thinking that in Barbados we'll ever grow a strawberry. But there are a lot of things that we can grow and a lot of things that we can produce. And when we eat fresher, anything that we pick here is going to be way fresher than anything that we import from overseas. Surely that helps with health and all of these chronic diseases that we are facing. And we encourage people. I think there's just so much around growing and producing and feeding ourselves. I mean, there are many angles to it, but everyone is a good thing. You know, when you look at this particular piece of land, you know, keeping it in agriculture, I can't really think of anything that is detrimental in keeping it in agriculture. If we need more houses up here, there's plenty of land all around that we can convert.
That's
but
right.
if we keep it in agriculture, it helps with our food security. It helps with flooding. It helps with shoring up our water resources. It helps with our carbon footprint. All of those things it helps with. The reverse happens with housing. When you put it in housing, you got more flooding, less water going through to the aquifers, greater food insecurity, bigger carbon footprint, you know, and we are on the world stage as a country, asking the world to do what they can to help mitigate the climate change. And I think we need to practice what we're preaching or practice what we're asking and say these are things that we can do at home as well. There's a report on land sustainability. I don't have it here with me to send to you, but I'm happy to share it with you at another date.
Yes.
But there's a report on land sustainability, and truthfully, it says that you Barbados has altered the cover of its land so much that we are making whatever the effects of climate change are on other places, they're going to be worse in Barbados because we have less cover, we have less
Yes.
greening, we have urban sprawl, I think is the word that they refer to. Our population may have grown a marginal amount in the last 20 years. Marginal, something like 2 or 3%. The land that we have allocated to urban activity, whether it is housing, shopping malls, those sorts of things, has increased by 64% in the same time. So there's no wonder that when you read these reports, that you can see that or read that the amount of agricultural land has declined from 44% of the island in the 80s to 26.5% today. That's a massive decline on a small island that is food insecure,
Correct.
that is importing a significant amount of what we eat. Foreign exchange going out, it's not hard to work out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question there, for somebody who is watching this, and I heard somebody put in the comment section, that could it be that the residents, they don't want neighbors? Somebody said it's because you guys don't want neighbors. Why you're speaking like this?
Well, it is unfortunate that there are some people that may think like that. I think what we're doing here is trying to say, look, there is significant amount of land here that is going to be taken out of production for housing. Who benefits really from taking this land out of agriculture? A piece of land floods badly. I would hope that anybody interested in buying a piece of land would pay careful attention to how the drainage is sorted out on that piece of land. But, you would have heard the other night, I think you had Mr. Paul on, or maybe it was on the radio
Yes.
that he was speaking. The developers, the construction people, that's where the bucks are made. So it's 500 and something thousand square feet. You can do the numbers. $20 a foot, 500,000, 10 million. You sort it out from there.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Mr. Franklin, any questions here for our guest, Mr. Banfield? And while Mr. Franklin is getting ready to speak, remember the petition. We need everybody to sign. We have to get involved. We when St. James had their issue with the digital poll, we were all involved, and we got all involved with Jones River, and we will get all involved with Drax Hall. It's all of us, and it's all Barbados, and we have been talking about food security on this show, and this is a very, very important topic for me. And I think that this is something that this, and plus the water resources, all of that, the environment, and this should concern every single Barbadian. Mr. Franklin, any thoughts there, please? Good night.
Just before he comes in, Marcia, can they put the QR code back up? Because I scanned it just and it took me straight to the petition. So if they could put it up while Caswell is speaking, that would be
yes,
great.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ferdinand. Dave, can we put back the QR code? Yes, go ahead, Dr. Ferdinand. Go ahead, Mr. Franklin.
I am not a Don Quixote, and I do not intend to go around tilting at windmills. I would be interested to hear from Mr. Banfield if the people in his neighborhood would be willing to pound the streets like we have been doing in their cause, because then I will join them.
So I can't tell you if the people in the neighborhood will, Mr. Franklin. I think there are some people that will. It's a very small community. As I said, it's 56 houses. Some are vacant. Some people are, out of the. So there's not ever going to be a lot of people.
Yeah, well, at least
But
you
some,
got
I think
55.
we got 55. We got 55.
At least you got 55 people, because let's say each house had one person.
Yeah.
So
if we could,
if I can see 55 people on our march with us, I would recommend it to the group that we have we help you pound the pavement, because first of all, they want to give us jobby water. All right. Rather than give us jobby water, that water that falls in those fields and will sink naturally into the aquifer would be much better than jobby water. So I want to see the water going where it should be, rather than run off into the road and flood the place. Let's seep naturally into the groundwater supply. As a matter of fact, that amount of water going inside there, there should have some thought. There should be some water collection zone there. But I'm willing to help the people in Valentine.
Yes, and I appreciate your help. I think we would hope that you could find a resolution without having to march. But the reality is that I think that there are many people up here that feel strongly enough about it that they would publicly protest if it was, if it really was necessary. But this need not go to that level. I think that there's good logic. I think the Barbados physical development plan, it is a big document. It's 270 pages, but there are about 20 or 30 pages devoted to agriculture and protecting agriculture, and very detailed maps. I haven't come up with this concept of super prime on my own.
Yeah.
This concept of super prime agricultural land is taken straight from the Barbados Physical Development Plan, which was amended in October 2023. So it's only 6 or 7 months old. And, they speak specifically about this land, So I'm just seeing if I could find if I could find the specific quotation, but truthfully, this is not just any old piece of farmland. This is very good land that is in an area that could produce. And it's funny because, and just to demonstrate how suitable sugarcane is for certain and how resilient it is to not only drought, but when that field that I showed you the photos of was underwater, part of it, about 2 or 3 weeks prior to that, the new canes had been planted. And I made a comment to someone to say, well, those canes, they will rot down in there. I can't imagine that those canes would ever be able to survive that amount of water.
Yeah.
And look at the canes now.
Marcia?
So
I have a question from Mr. Banfield. A statement and then a question. You said that it should not come to this level, that you are hoping to have a resolution, but do you have any idea what would have caused the change in land use from agriculture, from land that is presently being in agriculture, to change that? And also,
I could answer that. Greed.
Okay. Also, who presently owns the land?
My understanding is that the land is a part of Newton Plantation, which is owned by a company called Newton Limited.
Okay,
that's what I know.
All right,
that's what I'm told. In fact, the application, which you would have seen, you notice in the paper, and the and the information on the sign that has been erected, has the application in the name of Newton Limited.
Okay, one other observation is that this is I don't think we've ever had an opportunity as good as this one that affects most of the people who live in your community are possibly white BAJANS. So we haven't had an opportunity to date to bring them out to become activists for a cause. And this may be the perfect situation because it affects all of them. It affects food security. So I think the ball is in your court that you have a perfect cause and you should pursue it to the end.
So just let me speak about how the neighborhood is made up. Yes, there are some white folks that live up here. There are several families. I would say the vast majority of folks that live up here are Black. So this for us, this is nothing to do with race or anything like that.
Right.
Although I will tell you that the comments that you see on social media make the assumption that this is predominantly a white enclave, and we don't want people living up here near us and all of that. And the truth, it couldn't be further from the truth.
That's not true.
So and it is not a high-end neighborhood. It is very much what I would call a middle-class neighborhood. We've had people say, well, the land you all built on was agricultural land one time. I can only tell you that the land that I live on and everything on the brow that I live on, or the ridge, the elevation, is extremely hard rock.
Yep.
In fact, when I was building my house, and I was a young man and I knew very little about building, I was talking to the gentleman who was going to build it for me and having a conversation about the foundation. And he jokingly turned, and who was going to help me, dig the foundation. He said, foundation? Well, all you need is a hard boom. This is bare rock. Rock right here. It is this. So this, we have not, the people that live up here have not taken agricultural land out of agriculture in order to live here.
All right.
And that is the point that we really were trying to make. One of the points to say, look, we're not against,
not like in cottage.
We're not against
Up the road
houses
here.
up here and more development, but use some of the land that is idle. Use some of the land that is producing nothing.
Gross
pick up the good land and cut it up.
Yeah.
If it can help. If this was the last piece of land and we said, well, we got to get some houses, yeah, by all means. But you can drive from St. David's and come through. The land on both sides of the road, after you pass St. David's in Christchurch, the land on both sides of the road is now just bush. The land, as you pass the entrance to Valentine, if you make a right turn, all the land going back down to Sheraton is now bush. If you continue on to the highway, the land on the right is all bush and trees. The trees, I will have to call it forested land now. And the only piece that is not bush is really this acreage that is in sugarcane and designated as super prime agricultural land.
Yeah.
So
Mr. Banfield, that isn't the dean's property.
And we have another 2 minutes in this segment. Go ahead, Dr. Ferdinand.
Yeah, no, I was just asking about the property that you just mentioned going back to Sheraton. I think on the left, that would be the dean's. I believe. I don't know if it's a company or whatever it is.
I honestly, I don't know who the exact owners are because, as you know, some of the lands around here have been embroiled in legal cases and whatnot. It's very confusing to try to figure it out. But so I really can't answer the question. But it's unfortunate that the land is just lying down
idle, doing nothing. But I can tell you, I mean, I live in St. George and Market Hill, all of up Groves tenantry, all through Cottage, all that was agricultural property that was taken and all the way back out to Newberry. Tremendous agriculture. St. George. St. George, one of the most arable parishes in the country.
Fertile.
In one of the most fertile in the country. A lot of our properties have been cut up into agriculture. And may I say, I saw a comment made about strawberries. Barbados has one of the richest vitamin C products in acerola cherries and dunks and golden apples And we can go on and on and on naming the number of fruit we have available in Barbados that in many instances even better than anything we can import from overseas. But
Yeah,
I've got to leave that because our time is limited here.
yeah.
I'll have to say
Limited
good to
time.
see you and good to see
Well,
the cause, and I've signed the petition.
nice to see you again. And I want to say thank you to Marcia for having me on and giving me the opportunity to clarify some of the things, and also for putting up the link to the petition. You know, the more signatures we can get, the better. Thank you so much for your help,
Correct.
and hopefully you'll have me back to give you an update.
Of course,
Of
definitely.
course.
This is a
Yes.
story that we're going to stay with, and I'm going to sign the petition, and I'm going to promote the petition because
Thank
this
you.
is something that, you know what, guys, it's not, we need to be able to find what we have in common. You know, when we need to speak out about certain things, we speak out about, but this is something we have in common. And
That's right.
we have a lot of misconceptions about things, and a lot of us, we need to, in order for us to progress, we need to kind of, first of all, get the facts, and let's focus on what matters. What matters more than food? Huh? What
Exactly.
matters
Yep.
more than food?
Water.
I
We're go-
do
we're
water,
gonna
yeah,
take we
water.
won't take concrete over food, and so this is an issue that all of us, as Caswell and as Heather and Dr. Ferdinand is saying, we can come together on it. You know, we want to say to you, Mr. Banfield, that this is an issue we see that all of us can come together and to be able to speak to our government about what that this concerns us. It's a concern in food security or water resources and the environment. And we hope that it doesn't have to go to marching on the street, but if it does, we want to let you know that we will stand with you side by side, and we will march together because we
Thank
are
you very.
all
Yes.
Barbadians. We are
Thank you for
all
that.
Barbadians.
Thank
And I
you for
think
that
that
support.
we need to be able to say that.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
so
Much
much.
appreciated. Thank you for having me on.
All right.
Yes, and we will keep putting
Bye-bye.
up every night we're going to put up the petition. Okay. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Banfield.
Thanks.
God bless
Thank
you.
you so much. Bye bye.
Yes, we'll keep in
Bye.
touch. Yes.
Marcia, before we go any further, I said something and I want to correct myself. I said the births were registered from
Oh, I'm
1899.
sorry. That's a different topic. Okay.
Yeah, I
sorry.
know, 1899.
Mhm.
But I went and checked my index. Laws
Yes,
of Barbados index.
let it be short, Mr. Because Kima
Yeah,
hasn't spoken.
yes, it's going to be short. This is the index, the laws of Barbados from 1667, number 1, to 1942, number 8. It was actually 1891. I said 99. Not 1812, Marcia. I mean, Heather.
This slave,
1891.
this slave register recorded.
I was talking about registering births and deaths in Barbados. It started in 1891 by this Act of Parliament. This is the laws of Barbados.
Mr. Franklin, okay,
Mm.
thank you so very, very much. Kimar, good night, Kimar. How are you doing? I'm trying to preserve Kimar's time so we don't get off into that, because we can correct that another night, okay?
I don't think so. Listen, I don't think so. What I think is that when I'm making a point, when I am trying to make a point, I give way to a lot of people. I will not give way on this point simply because I have the exact laws of Barbados that says it is this is the index of the laws of Barbados between 1667, number 1, and 1942, number 8. And it says the registration started in 1891. And that's all it was, the point I was making. And I wanted to be heard on that.
All right. Yes, thank you, Mr. Franklin. Thank you so much. Kimar, good night. How are you doing?
Hey, good night, everyone. I am fine. How about you?
I am doing great. I am doing great. Now, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We know that we would not have seen you last night, and I don't even know. I wanted to kind of slightly touch on the whole thing that has occurred, and it's seeming as though we are there seem to be an unseen hand there trying to push us towards one party state, right? but we will touch on that. We'll touch on that at some point. But Kima, what's on your mind, please?
Well, good night to everybody else, Caswell, Heather. Glad to see you on the show tonight, Heather. Um, glad to be here with all the members of the loyal opposition. I was trying to I got a little bits and pieces, but I didn't get him much. I would say, but as much as I got, we Drax Hall. We touched on Drax Hall on this show first. If you remember,
Yes.
Yes.
we put a letter which support us the subdivision of the Drax Hall plantation every since ago. Right? And we spoke to the fact that the government was after the Drax plantation for reparations, whatever, and that there was a letter coming to the residents at Drax Hall saying that they wanted to subdivide the land ever since. Right? And we put a copy up on the screen. So this is of no surprise, and should have been no surprise to anybody who watched the show and who watches the show, because we spoke about this already. Right? Second, this weekend was very interesting, to say the least. We Marcia, we had to go somewhere this morning, right?
Yes. Yes. So
Yeah,
you want to talk to the people about that?
Yeah. I feel we should talk about it because this is some very volatile times. There seems to be war in every camp there is out here in Barbados. So I think we should let the people know what is happening on our side, right?
Yes,
What is
I think
happening?
we have a picture. I think Dave has a picture. I'm not to cut you there, but Dave has a picture, so he can put it up. Go ahead, but go ahead and talk.
Yes. So over the weekend, something not over the weekend, but yesterday, something very dangerous happened within my everyday space, and I received a letter coming to my house, and this letter was addressed to Kimar Stewart. Had my address, the Republic of Barbados, nice, pretty envelope and everything. So when I got it, I actually thought it was a bill or so. Or so no, probably somebody ready to come collect some debts or something. And I said, what is this? No, I opened thing, and here is this handwritten letter, this 2-page handwritten letter. And it said at the top of it, original document sent to Marcia Weeks. And specifically, it said Marcia Eric Fly Sealy Week. Right? So when I saw that raised my eyebrows, and I went on to read this letter, and it was such a nasty piece of work, right? I couldn't believe it, and the content of it, right? And I want to read some of it on here because this is a very serious matter, right? And I think all Barbadians must be made aware of the lengths that some people in this country are going to silence the people on this Marcia Week show, right? And that is why I know for a fact that this country is on its way to full dictatorship and being a one-party state where the party in power have people who will go to any lengths to keep it there. Now, here goes the letter. Remember, this letter came to my house, right? It says to Marcia Weeks. and I'm going to read it as it is, quoting. So, open quote, it says, "You come out here launching a platform to carry out a personal vendetta against our beloved and universally recognized Prime Minister, Mia. And you bring out your fellow Mia haters like Caswell Franklin, who was fired from NUPW once by Mia. Took 10 years to do it. No worry how nasty it is. Right? And they went on to attack Caswell. It says here that also he would have voted against the president of the country and said some more nasty things there about him and don't want to repeat them. Right? And it says here that, and they call some more names, people like Matt, and use of very derogatory terms to refer to them. Maxine McLean and Glenn Murray and Pastor Ferdinand Nichols. Right? It spoke about Mr. Ferdinand's political association, former, current, whatever, right? Making some very disparaging remarks about people on the panel. And people remember why I'm concerned, right? Why I'm concerned is that these things are coming to my house, right? But I want to read the most dangerous part of this document, right? And it says here that, picture this, some BAJANS living in Jamaica, if they did it and mount a platform and criticize either the JLP or the PNP, worse yet, telling the governor or the government how to run their country, that the goons, the gunmen, and the gangsters associated with those parties would pay us a visit, for sure. But it says you don't have to worry about those things about here, because we take things for granted. And what is most dangerous now is the end. It says that if you were in Jamaica, you would have to be shelling out protection money. If you were doing what we were doing down there. And it says, in view of the above, I suggest that you do a special program on your shore, speaking about the murder, slaughter of citizens in Jamaica, and the extortion and protection money and scamming of your countrymen, referencing to Marcia's nationality, and the relationship between the politicians, the gangsters, the goons, and the gunmen. And it says here, if such a show is not done in 2 weeks, I will be on you, AG. And that was the end of the letter. Right? So
It sounds a lot like a letter I received. The only thing is that mine did not have all the threats in it.
Well, this
Continue, Timar.
Well, I'll just let whoever wrote the letter know that both Marcia and I would have laid an official complaint with the Barbados Police Service today, and there we are standing outside of the police station, because we will not be taking these things lightly. So yes, the letter was passed on to the police, and it is now in their hands, right? Because this is stepping overboard, right? And I must say, and I'm going to ask all of you on here to understand and to appreciate the risk that we have taken as patriotic people to come and represent the interests of not just Barbadians but Caribbean, Barbadians all over the world. And this is what we are faced with: nasty, threatening attacks And this is what I'm saying. It's not like it's coming on the road. This is coming into your personal space where you have family. Right? So I don't want to go off too long on this because I don't want to say the wrong thing in passion, being passionate about it. But I think the officials of this country need to sit up and pay attention, right? And they need to recognize that this thing is coming closer and closer to people's doorstep. No, you know. But then you go down that lines about gangs and gunmen and paying people to visit. No, 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 no. Wrong foot, and I will not stand idly by and take it, and neither will I allow any threats or anything to potentially harm anybody on the panel or any Barbadian furthermore. Right? So authorities need to sit up and pay attention. And as they said, this is not a matter for the police because they have the letter, and we are on standby to proceed because we are going to get to the bottom of this. Thank you.
Kimar, you read my letter. That was identical to the one I got. I only realized that today because when I found out that you got one, I went and read mine because when I read the first paragraph and they were cursing me, I don't protect people cursing me, so I just put it and put it on my desk. It is only when I found out that I went today and read it, and it's exactly the same letter. Like the person told them and copied them off and brought back the same thing to me. And, so I only realized that how deep the idiocy went today because at first they were cursing me. Cursing me does not bother me. You can curse me as much as you like. It's the threats that I got a problem with, because, I don't threaten people. I talk my mouth, and I can keep using it until the Lord take the ability away from me, one way or the other, either through illness or death. That's when they will stop. So they can write their foolishness, they can do what they like, but I just want to tell them that in my career I have qualified as a first class shot once. I might still be able to. So keep coming.
Yeah.
I got the identical letter.
Mr. Franklin, I know you said you had gotten a letter for me. It's funny enough, these two letters, they didn't come to me directly, people. One went to Caswell and one went to Kimar. And one of the letters went to these two gentlemen. The strangest thing is that the threat is to me that in 2 weeks' time I better change the course of this show or the content of the show, or they will come. What are they going to get me? They're going to, what was it, get at me or something? What was it, Kimar? I can't remember. What? Something, but it's a 2 weeks. 2 weeks, in 2 weeks' time, I need to change the content of the program or else whatever. Well, I just want to let them know that today we went to the police, as Kimar said, very serious about it. And, I also went to Roebuck Street and I made sure I brought in a letter, Mr. Franklin, just in case. And I put in a letter for 4 times in May for a march against this Mottley government, this BLP government. And there no letter is going to stop me. Absolutely no letter. No tell me in 2 weeks. In fact, what we're gonna, there's a noise coming through. In fact, what we're gonna do in this 2 weeks is ramp it up. Okay? So there's no 2 weeks. You can't give me no 2 weeks notice of nothing. You understand, Mr. Franklin? You were saying something.
No, my concern is that yes, I'm fairly public. My address, they addressed it to me at Unity Workers Union. But Kimar, I know you recently moved, so they must have been following you or something because I don't think your address is generally known. At least I could be wrong, but I don't think
Yes, I did recently did move. Where was that?
So they might have been following you.
Well,
Marcia, I'd like to say this. This is very serious, and I would want to hope, knowing that there are government operatives and government individuals that watch this program, I would expect to hear the Prime Minister and every member of Parliament denounce this publicly. That is when I will know this government is serious about serving the people of this country. Because regardless of the criticism or non-criticism, nobody in this country should be threatened for expressing their views, their concerns, or asking questions of anybody, including the police, the legal profession, the courts, anybody. That's our right. Our Constitution makes provision for the rights of the citizens of this country. And whenever those rights are being violated, the government of this country should stand up and protect those rights. And so I am making a call tonight on the Prime Minister of Barbados to denounce what you have just expressed to us here, Kimar, if she is truly the Prime Minister of this country. There's no leader of any country in the world who is interested in the citizens of his country who will let this go through without addressing it, and needs to stand up and say this will not be tolerated in our country. And when I hear that, I will begin to take this government a little more seriously.
It's going to take a little bit more than that for me.
Yeah. I wanna say that, I started on this I started on this journey of speaking out publicly about this government, about Prime Minister Mia Mottley, and about this BLP government. It started for me publicly one Easter. I can't remember how many years ago, probably 2 or 3 years ago, when there were people that were allegedly in gangs. That's how the newspaper reported it. And they were able to go on their phones and they were able to call the Prime Minister of this country to defy the police in Barbados. When that occurred, as somebody who grew up in Jamaica, where it was very partisan and we couldn't wear certain colors. So tonight I'm wearing red. I couldn't wear red around somebody who is say a DLP. And the DLP could not, somebody who a BLP could not wear red around. And people would shoot and they would kill. I remember my own family where people came with machine guns at our doors because we were of a different party. I lived in a JLP community and my family was PNP. And they came to kill all of us. And my aunt, we saw the guns, the louver windows, and the guns were peeping through. That's the experience that I had, and we had to run in the middle of the night in our nightie, take the children and go down to near the river to get into somebody else's home. So when I read a letter like this, I understand what is going on. You hear me? I understand it, and when I see what happened right there on that Easter day, with those people, I actually called my family in Jamaica and they were shocked because everybody's all about Prime Minister Mia Mottley. And when they heard that, this is what my friends and family said. They said, listen, you guys have to be careful. That's corruption to the highest degree, that he could pick up his phone and he could call the Prime Minister and get whatever the police were saying to him reversed. And we were in Barbados with our head in the sand until now, until tonight when this is now sent. This is now sent and we see how dangerous it is. And I remember that I was told, and I wouldn't call her name, she would have to come on the show and say it herself, that the late Owen Arthur, that when that suggestion was made to by somebody who is very high in government at this moment, I won't call that person name, but you know who I'm talking about, that the kind of politics that we need in Barbados is the politics that happens in Jamaica. It's one of loyalty. That's what they said. And And I was told by somebody who was part of the BLP at that time, I was told this in 2003. I was told this, and this person said to me, was it when did we do Chrissy Dave? I was in South Africa at the time. With our movie. Dave will tell me the day, but I think it's not 2003, 2013. And when they were doing the marches on the street here, and I was saying, why don't they leave the woman alone? Why does Owen Arthur leave the woman alone? And this particular person said to me, Marcia, that he's trying to protect this country from certain people. That's what he's trying to do. And I was told that is that kind of mentality, that partisan, and that kind of feeding that kind of frenzy among people and his loyalty, that we would end up writing a letter to people like this and mentioning about gunmen and gangs for speaking their opinion. And I just thought I had to say that because it's quite interesting, because that's when I started to speak out. That is quite interesting, but that's all I will say on it. It's 10 o'clock. Himar, any other comments?
Well, this is the thing, people are influenced by all type of things, right? And this thing about gangsterizing Barbados society, I don't like it. That's a very dangerous precedent set. And I like to think of Barbados as one of the safest places to be, but the level of influence that is being peddled, and this whole gang wars and all of these shootings and stuff, that I don't want to knock anybody's effort, but this thing has gotten out of hand. It had a temporary fix, and things are going leftward really, really, really fast. Because I saw this idea that and I think this is as well, you accused the farmer, think of contraband going in the prison or something, and he came out and said it was not true. Right? I tried to disavow the fact that somebody associated with the same program, the peace program or something like that, that it was not true. No, there's my thing, right? I don't have anything to any qualms about the peace program, because I think an effort was made, so clap for that. However, though, the complaint coming out of that they heard this from around the government, that you getting paid by day and you robbing and shooting people at night, right? And if, Marcia, people collecting government money and coming on the road and harming people, right? Based off a letter like this, Marcia, right? Based off a letter like this, and plus the fact that you were sent a letter to be sued for something that you didn't even say, right? So who don't deny the truth, tells lies, makes up fallacies, and they come and try to attack and bully the people of Barbados into cowering down. So to me, it's what I call outright terrorism against the people of Barbados. And we choose to stand up and be brave and do the right thing and look where we face it. When the children look back and ask, well, why didn't you do it? We stood up. We stood up. We are saying, no, this is not the direction we want our country to go. We don't care who's involved in it, government, street man. We don't care who it is, right? This is not the direction our society will be going. But I think I'll end there.
Kimar,
yeah,
there was a mention publicly about us, while not calling us by name. You all know I'm a minister. There's a statement in the scripture, I think it's Psalm 33, that talks about how the oil runs down Aaron's beard down to the hem of his garment. It suggests that things start at the top and make their way down to the bottom. We were called terrorists. We were called all kinds of names that open up a gateway for these kind of things to come toward us by the authorities in this country. And that is why I'm saying they need to recant and they need to come and condemn this matter. You need to turn it around, because what you're saying is that anybody that opposes you is a terrorist. Anybody that questions you is a terrorist. Anybody that has any opposition to you is a terrorist. And some people are stupid enough to take that seriously.
Yeah. Yes, guys. Well, it's 10:04 and we are going to close. And so let's have our final thoughts before we close. I want to ask everybody to continue to pray for everyone that's involved. And just know that there is no intimidation here. Nobody's intimidated. We just want to let you be aware of what is happening. And I will tell you, though, that in Jamaica, because some people said they don't want it to be like Jamaica at the moment, that kind of politics is no longer in Jamaica, actually, and that's a fact. We're seeing people in different parties, they're working together. I think people have, there's a lot of education that has occurred, and we don't have that kind of politics anymore in Jamaica. It's not something that you're going to see happening. And a lot has changed. And I'm really hoping that it doesn't get on the way Jamaica was. That's really what I want to say about that. All right, so let's close. Heather, is there anything you want?
I just want to remind persons to sign and share the two petitions, the one against the cybercrime bill and the one in support of the persons who live in Valentine. And also, if they have any comments regarding the cybercrime bill at this point in time, don't put them in the chat, send them to Marcia, and she will forward them to me for the compilation of our response.
And that number again, Heather, 236-7000, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Dave, can you? Okay, sorry about that. Yeah. Okay, let's hear from Dr. Ferdinand. Any comments from you?
My last statement. Yeah, my last statement was my final comment.
Yeah. And somebody's asking you to say a prayer before we close. And Kimar, any thought? No, don't put up her name. Any thoughts, Kimar? I know you had said quite a bit. Anything else? And then Haswell will say the final word, and Mr. Dr. Ferdinand would give a short prayer. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I think I've said enough on that issue. But I saw somebody comment saying that Sir David Simmons used my name today at the Joint Select Committee. So I just wanted to know what that was all about, because I honestly did not hear it. So if the person,
we can tell you, I can send you the link, and we can afterwards. Okay.
Yes.
Calvin McKenzie is asking for the link. Calvin, unfortunately, it was put several times in the chat, and so you can just WhatsApp me, Calvin, and I will send it. That's the link, Dr. Ferdinand, that you had made reference to on the WHO. Okay, so you can send it to me, Dr. Ferdinand, and we will send it over. Mr. Franklin, any final word that you would like to say before we close?
Yes, I just want to say to the people who draft these stupid letters, they will not deter us. Right? We will continue to do as we have been doing. We have not been breaking any laws, and they're trying to put laws in place under the cybercrime bill that will prevent us from doing what we do. We have not defamed anybody, because if there were defamation, instead of threatening to put things up our tail, they would have sent them by messenger or by bailiff or whoever, right? And so we are not worried. It's just that we want you to know what is happening around us. The politicians will come out and say what they want, and they will deny everything. And I believe with all my heart that these people sit down and they get their instructions. not want to say from whom. The last thing though is that remember when you mentioned that the thing in the prison where people from the program came, I actually have the name of the prisoner. He is part of the program. He's I was going to say a blackbird told me, but I'm going to say a raven. So they better check and see if there are any ravens around the place. So it happened, not like the minister said, but that is the cover story. We have to be cautious. Well, good night, everybody, and thanks for listening to us again tonight.
Amen.
Marcia,
Thank
you got
you.
the song?
Thank you. Let's have the Reverend. They're asking the Reverend to pray. I think it's a solemn, it's a very serious thing. People are taking it very serious. Thank you, Alvin. Alvin, who is a professed BLP, he's against this kind of behavior. So I hope you, Alvin, can reach out to the Mottley administration and let them know what is going on, and that that this is getting very, very serious. And they're mentioning about gangs and giving us 2 weeks and all these kind of things. So Alvin, because you're a very strong supporter of the BLP and Mia Mottley, please reach out. Thank you. He said yes, please. Go ahead, Dr. Ferdinand. They're asking you to pray.
I want to pray the 91st Psalm over all of us, Heather and Caswell, Kimar, yourself, Marcia, Maxine, Rose, and over the group here, because these names are going to be appearing in the record of the YouTube videos. So we want to pray the 91st Psalm. So, Father, your word declares that he that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. We will say of you, O Lord, you are our refuge and our fortress, our God. In you we will trust. You will deliver us from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. You will cover us with your feathers, and under your wings we will trust. You have told us, Lord, not to be afraid of the terror by night, nor for the hour that flieth by day, nor the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at our side and 10,000 at our right hand, but your word says it shall not come near us. Only with our eyes shall we behold and see the reward of the wicked. Because we have made the Lord, which is our refuge, even the Most High, our habitation, there shall no evil befall us, neither shall any plague come nigh our dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over us to keep us in all of our ways. Because we have set our love upon you, you will deliver us and you will set us on high, because we have known your name. We will call upon you and you will answer us. You will be with us in trouble. You will deliver and honor us with long life. You will satisfy us and show us your salvation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Praise God.
Amen. Thank you all so very much for joining us tonight, and continue to join. Continue to join. So we'll see you on Wednesday. God bless you. Have a good night. And we have to play our song. We have to play.
We
have to play the song as well.
Pretending to be good, just pretending to be good. Pretending to be good, I just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending, and I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Good night. God
Good
bless.
night, everyone.
Bye-bye.